we had a malign intent.
EFF chairperson in Limpopo, Lawrence Mapolo, says the protest march against the employment of foreign nationals in the Polokwane municipality is not an indication of a shift in their policies. Mapolo says their main purpose is to see locals being given a priority, including in the business sector. EFF members and supporters have marched and submitted a memorandum to demand the resignation of the executive mayor, John Mpie. Mpie is accused of benefiting from kickbacks from businesses which receive tenders from the municipality. Mapolo says EFF's stance on a united Africa has not changed.
Our condolences once more to the widows of Marikana, to the children who lost their fathers on this important day. And Marikana is what made the EFF to be what it is. EFF and Marikana will remain one thing. The pain of the people of Marikana still remains our pain, because till today no one has been held accountable.
Israel's defense minister has approved a plan to capture the whole of Gaza City. Call-up letters will be sent out shortly to at least 50,000 reservists, with their draft starting next month. 1 million Palestinian residents could be ordered to leave once new shelters are set up in the southern Gaza. The move puts more pressure on Hamas to accept Israel's condition for a ceasefire, which is the release of all hostages. The BBC's Yolanda Nell has the details.
Israel wants to show that it is pressing ahead with its plans to conquer all of the Gaza Strip, starting with Gaza City. We're expecting to have these military plans confirmed, approved by the government in the coming days, but already we're told today there will be some reservists who start getting called up, tens of thousands of them. That's on top of those who are already actively serving, who will now have their term of service extended, and you also have those who are on active duty as well.
Recapping the top story, the chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Home Affairs, Musa Chabane, says he's confident that there will be no basis to challenge President Cyril Ramaphosa's amendments of the Political Party Funding Act. I'm Wandilambana for SFM News Headlines at 3:30.
It's a very good afternoon to you. In your SFM Sports Soccer, Mamelodi Sundowns have been dealt a blow as their captain Themba Zwane requires medical assessment following an injury. And in boxing, there's turmoil. Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., son of the legendary Julio Chavez, has been deported from the United States and is now incarcerated in a federal prison in Sonora, Mexico. All this and more at around 3:30.
SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide.
This year, the Standard Bank Joy of Jazz Festival presents 3 unforgettable days deep in the art and heart of jazz. From the 26th, 27th and 28th of September, Umu Sankare, Ababemu, Jasmia Horn, Silent Law and the Noisemakers, Najbonk Trio, Michelle Ndingio-Cello, Valencini, Gabby Mutuba, and over 50 world-class acts will be ready to welcome you and yours to 4 magnificent stages of the Sandton Convention Center. Take me there. Buy your tickets at Ticketmaster now.
Do you know what's hiding behind colorful packaging of unhealthy food? Big food companies target children with unhealthy packaged foods that hide high levels of sugar, salt, and fat, which could lead to heart disease, diabetes, and hypertension. But the truth is hidden from consumers. Front-of-package warning labels are a proven solution to help consumers make informed decisions. The government must act now. We have the right to know what's in our food. Demand front-of-package warning labels. Sign the petition on heala.org, HEALA.org, by 30 September.
Gender-based violence is destroying lives and tearing communities apart. It happens in homes, in schools, at workplaces, and too often in silence. But it doesn't have to continue. If you see it, speak out. If you are hurting, reach out, because doing nothing is not an option. Listen to all 19 SABC radio stations from Wednesday, the 23rd of July for hard talk, discussions, advice, dramas, educational shows and interviews around GBV with experts, survivors, lawmakers and a whole country affected by gender-based violence. all on your favorite SABC radio station. Call 0800 428 428 to report abuse or get help. GBV, it ends with you. This message is brought to you by the SABC. The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda on SAFM. You're listening to the National Pulse, weekdays 3 to 6 p.m.
And the National Pulse, it definitely is. And I just wonder, what is it for you that connects you to the pulse of a nation? Well, today, what will be the biggest stories that moves you? We'll cover many of them, of course, including the strange story of the DA MPs, in fact, being attacked. MPs, members of parliament, attacked in an attempted robbery, including Ian Cameron, amongst others. Like, strange story, but maybe no surprise at all around that one there. The DA themselves as well, at the same time, critical of the appointments of Buti Manamela that he's made over the Seta appointments. We'll talk about that. We also have a situation where the president, South Africa's president, up to Japan as part of a whole group of leaders that will be congregating there from the African continent. And I wonder whether you picked up on that story about Israel and Gaza. I'm just trying to understand it. What are they saying? They are having a clear plan now to take over Gaza City within the range of Gaza, or what is called the Gaza Strip, as maybe the first significant step to effectively take over the whole area. But the intention is Gaza City, and therefore asking people to move south, 1 million people. Like, listen, we need to find out more about it. You may know more. I'm going to spend my time looking at it in a moment. But I'll tell you what, if that happened anywhere else in the world, what do you expect the response of the world would be? Just think about it. My name is Ashraf Garda. 086 000 2032 is the number to call in. This, as always, is the National Pulse. To WhatsApp, it's 0614 104 107. That's voice note or text. And I'd love to hear from you, whether you're a regular or a first-timer. Either way, we need to know who you are and where you're coming from. So do that. And then you can WhatsApp us as well. No, you can actually tweet us, Hashtag the National Pulse. Now, let's get to the first story. This is going to get the pulses racing. The residents of Metsimaholo municipality are protesting once again outside the Sasol plant in Sasolburg. So why are they doing so? Well, the residents are accusing Sasol of prioritizing job seekers from Secunda over local applicants. Now, this, as you know, is an issue that we certainly touched on a few months back. Why the reason for protesting again, and what's the plan? Up to now, we've not had a response from Sasol, by the way, to get their side of that story. We do have the voice of a community leader in JJ Singh. JJ, you are now connected to the National Pulse. Hello.
Good afternoon, Ashraf, and your listeners.
Thank you. Right, so let's start at the beginning. Why are they protesting this time around?
We're protesting this time around because the last time we spoke, we had meeting engagements with Sasol. They promised that, the first opportunity that comes to employ the locals, they will employ them. So they promised August. So usually this time of the year, what happens is that they've got something called the maintenance shutdown, where they literally maintain the entire plant. So what happened is that, the community last time submitted a total of 1,200 CVs to Sasol to show that, we are ready for August, different trades, different skills, which are needed. So fast forward to now, the shutdown started yesterday, and out of the 1,200 CVs that were submitted by the community, 800 of those people are from Secunda that have been employed by Sasol. They only called 4 people from our database. Not to call them to employ them, they called them just to ask them if they'd like to, if they're still available. So, and they're still not employed. So out of the 1,200 CVs that we submitted, 0 have been hired. 800 people from Secunda have been hired. And these people are not bringing any special skills, none whatsoever, which are not available in Metsimaholo. So it just shows you that, there's a deliberate attempt by Sasol to ignore the people of Metsimaholo. Because, you sit down in meetings with them, they make you feel like, okay, we're moving somewhere. We've probably had about 10 meetings since May. But after a meeting, they'll say something else, and then you discover something else. I'll make you an example. In last week's meeting, we we're discussing the issue of disability. What's their plan around people that are disabled? They said they're not ready, they don't have a plan, etc. A day after, literally 24 hours later, we went on the Sasol website. We found that they had advertised, I think, about 50 opportunities for disabled people at Secunda. It's still on their website as we speak. So they say something today, tomorrow it's something else. So it has showed us that, they prioritize Secunda over us, the people of Metsimaholo at Sasol 1.
What would be their motivation? Why would they prioritize Secunda over your community, where they know there's going to be protests, they know there's going to be huge levels of discomfort and annoyance, but also that they also know that it is in their interest to ensure that a community is on their side. And as you said, if the skills are not special skills, then what would be shortcomings? What would be the shortcomings in this case?
So this is what we uncovered, right? So this is how it plays out. There's a big hospitality cartel.
Yeah, do I have you there? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still here.
Sorry, we just lost you for a sec. Just repeat that last line again.
So there's a huge accommodation cartel for laborers, right? So I'll make you an example. There's a resort in Sasol that has a total of 122 beds, right? And these beds, it's accommodation. So when you bring 122 people to come sleep at that place, right? So, the venue is, the resort is charging Sasol about 1,000 rand per head, meaning that they accommodate these people, they give them 3 meals a day, and they transport them to the Sasol refinery. You're looking at so when such projects are happening, like the maintenance shutdown, the owners of that venue are making a total of 120,000 rand a day because they're accommodating 122 people. Now, on average, these maintenance projects will take about 3 months, about 90 days. Now, when you calculate 122,000 rand, multiply by 90 days, you're looking at about 10 million rand. That's just one resort. There's many guest houses in this thing. So probably around accommodation for all these migrant workers, about 800 they've brought. Now, you can imagine what the numbers are like.
Okay, so let's then talk. So let me ask you this from your side.
Yeah.
When is the last time that you and your representatives from the community have spoken to Sasol?
What's today? Today is Wednesday, on Thursday.
So that was last week then, Patrice, yeah?
Last week Thursday, yes.
You're right. And what do you pick up from their tone because of course they're very aware how annoyed and disgruntled you and your community are, right? What did they say to you?
They negotiate in bad faith. You sit with people around the table, you agree on terms. This is going to work. This is what's correct. We're going to work on this together. But the following day, they do something completely different. It's almost as if it's a culture. Because even the last time we were fighting against Sasol mining around the SLP, right, the social labor plan. Now it's again, the fight is with Sasol refinery nitrate, the fuel division. So there's a culture of dishonesty around Sasol, which we don't understand. Nobody gets joy. The community doesn't get joy from getting up on and running and go marching. We've been marching for 2 days. We don't get joy out of that. People can get arrested. A lot can happen. It can spiral out of control. But every single day they push us and they keep pushing us. And it's going to get to a point where some of our members are going to act in a different way. Obviously, as the leaders, we always want to sit around the table and have these discussions. But the public's patience is not unkept. People are tired, and it's going to spiral out of control one of these days. I just don't know what's going to happen. Okay. And we hope nothing bad happens.
All right. What about, besides yourself, of course, you're a community leader, I gather, but the general feeling of the community, therefore, towards Sasol as a company, what do they say about them?
People are disgruntled. Can you believe that today we had pensioners that joined our march saying enough is enough? When you have a 78-year-old saying, I've got grandkids at my house that are qualified to perform some of these jobs that are happening here, coming to march, it says a lot. It says a lot about Sasol. Today, one of the ladies that came today, an older lady as well, she came to the march simply because her husband, right, worked at Sasol 2 in Secunda. The community of Secunda chased the husband out. They threatened to burn the house that he was renting in, saying that Secunda jobs are for the people of Secunda. So her husband and many other people from Sasol were chased out of Secunda. Now, the question the community is asking us is that if Sasol is behaving in this manner, Sasolburg residents are not allowed to work in Secunda. Why are 800 Secunda workers working in Sasolburg today? It's a valid question.
How, before we conclude, I mean, how do you envisage this is going to end?
I mean, Ashraf, we've done everything. We've submitted memorandums. People have marched. I've even written to the Portfolio Committee on Energy in Parliament. I've written to the CEO of Sasol. There's an email that went out 2 days ago that even went to the chairperson of the board. I mean, people now are talking about taking it to the streets. I don't know what that means. But we've done our part in terms of solving this matter amicably through emails, through engagement. We've done everything possible on our side. And we can't do anything else from here. And when we people that are willing to sit on the table are walking away from this thing, we don't know what the rest of the people are going to do, how they're going to react to the situation. I mean, the SAPS sits in these meetings that we have, right? They are aware. I mean, the guys from the Metsimaholo police station, the guys from the intelligence will tell you how many incidences they've had to block so that, disgruntled community members don't attack Sasol assets, they don't attack Sasol vehicles. That's where the levels of the of anger are with the community now. Okay. And understandably so, Sasol is a national key point. So nobody wants anything to happen. But the management keeps pushing every single day. They push and they push. We don't know what needs to happen now.
Okay, let's leave it at that. Lots to reflect on that. JJ Sesing, the community leader in the community of Metsimaholo, that's the municipality. They are concerned, as they have been before, that the Sasol plant there, they are hiring people from people outside of that region, mainly from Sasol, but beyond that, whereas this community believes they, as an integral part of the Sasol region, should be hired. And it's not like that the skills they're hiring them for are highly specialized, that this community does not have. Well, I mean, that's their story. By the way, we've reached out to Sasol, which we've done before. At this point in time, they have not yet confirmed whether they will talk to us or whether they're going to issue a statement. In the past, when we've tried to speak to them, they've turned it down. Hopefully, we should be able to speak to them. But I'll tell you what about you? Are you one of the people of Metsimaholo protesting? Tell me what you're feeling about it. If you're not protesting, but you're aware of what's been unfolding, what do you feel about it? Come on, get it off your chest. I need to hear you. This is the National Pulse.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195 and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply.
Bafana Bafana will host Nigeria in a FIFA 2026 World Cup qualifier at the Toyota Stadium on Tuesday, 9 September at 6 p.m. Tickets are now available nationwide and online from 70 Rand for adults and 40 Rand for children at all Ticket Pro outlets, including Spar, Postnet, and all petrol stations. Get your tickets early to avoid disappointment. Come in Bafana Bafana supporter gear, ready to sing for a win. Gates will open at 3 p.m. If you are not in Bloemfontein, catch the game on SABC2. For more information, visit safa.net and at Bafana Bafana on all social media channels.
The National Pulse, weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m.
Okay, we're going to welcome your thoughts. So how about you calling in and giving your opinion about what's playing out in that region regarding Sasol and the protests from the community of Metsimaholo. To call in, it's 086 000 2032, and then you have the option to send us a WhatsApp in either voice or text form, 0614 104 107, and you can tweet using the hashtag The National Pulse when you tag us here on SAFM Radio. Tag me too as well, right? Okay, there's calls I am going to take. I can tell you now, there's a couple of other things I want to pick up that I think is important, which we'll get to just in a moment. But let's pick out some of the other thoughts you have. Here's one.
Good afternoon, Ashraf, and your team. Happy Women's Month. Ashraf, I want to comment on this incident that is happening. It is Eastern Cape, where the two members of DA said they've been attacked. How long? Most of people, they complain about that route. Because they robbed them their belongings, they take laptops. They never done nothing. No one has been arrested. But after they attack two politician members of parliament of DA, they start to make arrest. Oh, means in South Africa, there's no law for us. Law is only for politicians. Things it needs to happen to them only before they take things seriously. Like now, we complain about people are killed every day. They are not doing nothing. If they can start to kill politicians, it is where they are going to take these things seriously. There's no law for us. I can even see.
No law for us. I'm not going to debate with you because I think what I hear from you is a sense of, it's a phrase I use often, helplessness and hopelessness. And that's not a good thing. But it is a reality. And I hear what you feel, right?
Ashraf, yesterday I heard about the Kings in KZN, whereby they were threatening the government that this thing of the government not giving them some money, it must come to an end. First and foremost, who say they must be the kings? And then the government never say to them that you are the kings. And if maybe they are the kings, they are not the kings of South Africa, of the government. They are the kings of the Zulu tribe. So the Zulu people, they must just making their plan to making their kings to survive. Not to allow the government to say to the government that you need to give us some money by hook or crook.
Okay, interesting thought, and I actually await your comments on that too, right? In terms of what you feel about it. By the way, and there's a couple of things I just want to touch on. In a way, we've forgotten about it, but because again, there's been this suggestion of the USA revising the immigration rates, immigration numbers from around the world, and from a South African perspective, skewing it in favor of Afrikaners once again. I wonder if you are an Afrikaner. I'm not suggesting you're going to take it up. I think it's very difficult, but of course some people have. But how do you feel about it? The fact that your community within the greater South African community are being given preferential treatment by Donald Trump because of what he perceives as you not being given preferential treatment in South Africa, in fact being, let's call it, discriminated against. So how do you feel about it? I'm talking on a very personal level. How do you feel about it?
Good afternoon, Ashraf. It's Aubrey here. You see, you cannot entertain people from Izima who are xenophobic. The question you should ask them is that, do those people have competency? Because most of them, we know that they are illiterate. Therefore, requirements is needed at Sasol. You cannot just go around and fetch Tom and Dick on the street and put them on a job market.
The issue of competence, certainly JJ Singh believes they are. That's, of course, his opinion. The only way we would know it differently is if Sasol comes up and gives their side of the story, and they're not doing so at the moment. And that's why that is such a concern. Like, why would they not come up and explain their story rather than risk even playing out on a national platform in their absence, where others then form their own narrative?
Hi, afternoon, Ashraf. As a resident of a mining town, I understand what Sasolburg residents are saying. And the problem is that these mines would call a company from Joburg or Cape Town to come and do whatever special services that they offer here during maintenance. And they will come with their people because they are based somewhere there in Joburg or Cape Town. So solution here is the special economic zones that ANC has always been talking about, so that if a mine needs a certain service, it should be based somewhere closer to the mine in a special economic zones, and that in that way local residents will be employed. Otherwise, it's not gonna end. There will always be a shutdown of what here in Limpopo we call it Vanava move.
Okay, that conflict between employer, employee, that when an employer dominates a region, isn't it?
Good afternoon, guys. Oh no! What happened to the DA yesterday to what the members or whatever in Cape Town and Philippi? Were they robbed? I didn't hear the whole story. I'm so interested. What happened? Oh no, guys! I'm so sorry. Lulu Joburg.
Oh my goodness. I'm tempted to play that as part of a promo, but I'm just wondering, are you being serious or are you actually having fun? Meaning, are you enjoying it? That they're being robbed. It comes across like that. That's why I'm asking you that. Are you enjoying it? They're being robbed. Like, what's your point out of it? Okay, there's more to come. By the way, I can also tell you, just an important thing I want to just read out. There's a statement that I think that we need to make a note of, right? And this comes from the Commission of Inquiry. It's a statement. The Commission of Inquiry into Criminality, Political Interference and Corruption in the Criminal Justice System is pleased to announce that its hearings will commence on the 1st of September, right? So 2025, of course. It's expected that the first hearing will be held in public. The Commission also confirms that having explored and considered several options in Gauteng, it is determined that its office will be located at the Bridget Mabandla Justice College in central Pretoria, and the venue is available to the Commission free of charge. The Commission's hearings will be held at this venue, and the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development, which is assisting with procuring the Commission's requirements, is hard at work to ensure the hearings will commence on schedule. Likewise, the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure is attending to alterations that will make the venue fit for purpose. So all of that coming up, linking the Commission of Inquiry into criminality, political interference and corruption in the criminal justice system. And I think when it gets underway on Spring Day, nogal, that's going to dominate our headlines. I have no doubt about that. 3:30, here's the news headlines.
Thank you, Ashraf. On the news headlines, Deputy Minister of Transport Mkhuleko Hlengwa has revealed that road crashes cost the economy about 205 billion rand. The chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Home Affairs, Musa Chabani, says he's confident that there will be no basis to challenge President Cyril Ramaphosa's amendments of the Political Party Funding Act. And Water and Sanitation Minister Phemi Majordina is in Lesotho to conduct oversight visits to a number of projects, including the Podi Hadi Dam, the Single Bridge, and the Lesotho Highlands Water Tunnel. A full update follows at the top of the hour.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the N3 southbound in Alexandra has a crash reported at London Road. The M1 southbound in Johannesburg, a crash before Crown Interchange, and the N3 northbound in Bedfordview, slow moving on the ramp to the N12 east at Gululis Interchange. In KZN, the N3 westbound has a crash before the M13 Paradise Valley Interchange, which has been cleared, but traffic remains slow moving. The M7 northbound is slow moving at Rosberg. In Cape Town, Berkeley Road westbound in Maitland has a crash reported at the M5 Highway Bridge. Strand Road eastbound in Stuckland, slow moving towards the R300 Highway, and the N2 Nelson Mandela Boulevard outbound, slow moving towards Hospital Bend. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
So Tumi's been ill for a couple of days, and that is why the person in charge is Zai Khan. Zai, let's go for it.
It's a very good afternoon to you. Mamelodi Sundowns is where we'll kick off. They're in action tonight, but they've been dealt a blow as their captain Themba Zwane has been sidelined due to injury he picked up in that MTNN first leg encounter against Orlando Pirates. Now, we have Sundowns already thin with a few of their players, new players being signed, and their coach as well, admitting that they need to start the season well, including the Sundowns forward Arthur Salles admitting despite a decent start to the season, the Brazilians need to raise their game. The reigning Betway Premiership champions visit Seshego Stadium tonight to face Magesi FC, aiming to keep pace with early front-runners Sekhukhune United and Kaizer Chiefs, who have 9 points from 3 matches. Sundowns have won 1 and drawn 1 in their opening 2 fixtures. More soccer news, this time from abroad. Brazilian goalkeeper Fabio Davidson Lopes Marcel has broken the record held by former England international Peter Shilton for the most competitive appearances in world football. And this is according to his club, Fluminense. The 44-year-old made his 1,391st appearance in the last 16 of the Copa Sudamericana, the South American equivalent of the Europa League, beating America de Cali 2-0, and that's at the Marikana Stadium. From there, we head straight to tennis news. The top seed Stefanos Tsitsipas out, and that's in the second round of the Winston-Salem Open in North Carolina, losing 6-3, 6-2 to an unseeded player, Bu from China. Bu will next face Mariano Navon of Argentina for a spot in the quarterfinals. Meanwhile, after illness forced Yannick Sinner out of the mixed doubles event at the US Open, Daniel Collins and Kristen Harrison were drafted in to replace the Italian, as well as Katerina Siniakova. No chance of progressing for the Americans, though. We've also got our Springbok coach, Rassie Erasmus, giving us an update saying the Springboks are likely to play closer to their traditional DNA when they take on the Wallabies in the second Rugby Championship test in Cape Town on Saturday. After admitting to overplaying at Ellis Park, that was last Saturday, and the likelihood of rain, Erasmus has opted for a 6-2 split on the bench with Siya Kolisi and Peter Steff to toy sideline. Erasmus has turned to Franco Mostert and Jean-Luc Duprier to refresh the loose trio. Now, Mostert is no stranger to the number 7 jersey, and Erasmus backs him to bring the energy and the versatility needed to steady the Bok pack in this very crucial match. And finally, former world champion Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. has been jailed in his native Mexico after his arrest in the United States. The Mexican boxer was arrested by Immigration and Customs Enforcement, also known as ICE, and the officers are based in Studio City, Los Angeles. This is 5 days after fighting Jake Paul in nearby Anaheim. Mexican prosecutors allege the 39-year-old acted as a henchman for the powerful Sinaloa cartel, which Washington designated a foreign terrorist organization earlier this year. He has now been detained in a prison in the northern Mexico state of Sonora, the country's national arrest registry showing as he awaits charges. Well, we'll be charging back with more sport here on the National Pulse, top of the hour. I'm Zai Khan.
Perfect. Thanks for that, Zan. Lots to reflect on what's come out of all the big sports issues that are being discussed right now. But this is, of course, the National Pulse.
The Bees want to impress their home crowd. They are digging deep for their first victory of the 2025-26 season. Meanwhile, the Villains are also chasing their first victory after a 0-all draw in their league opener.
Ball into an Ollie Watkins and he's touched it home. Ollie Watkins breaks the record.
This is the Premier League. Witness Brentford FC and Aston Villa this Saturday, 23 August at 3:30 p.m. live on SABC3 and SABC Plus. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
SA Sport Awards reflect our collective nation-building spirit. Mzansi's sport heroes and heroines have shown resilience, persistence, passion, discipline, and world-class achievements in the sports fraternity. Let us celebrate #Izinja Catch the 18th Annual SA Sport Awards on Sunday, 24 August at 7:30 p.m. on SABC Plus and SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4, then on SABC 1 at 8 p.m. Brought to you by the Department of Sport, Arts and Culture in partnership with SASCOG and SABC Sport. Celebrating sporting excellence.
Ashraf Garda is streaming live now on Facebook, YouTube, and X at SAFM Radio.
Still to come, we will cover that story of the attempted robbery on the DA MPs, and of course, naturally, the DA would condemn it. I think anybody should condemn it. So we'll talk about that after 4 o'clock. Also, a story on if you're into business, you'll be very aware of this: the issue of growing women's influence in business via the Harambee program. We'll chat to their Chief Impact Officer coming up pretty shortly. But for now, the South African president is in Tokyo in Japan. He's part of a group at the 9th Tokyo International Conference on African Development Summit. So I understand that 40 African countries are expected to be part of this summit. What's the story? What will they be talking about? What would be the lasting impact to come out of it? With me, who's been tracking the story, clearly, Kaye Litle Kumalo, the senior reporter from the SABC News International Desk. Appreciate your time here on the National Pulse.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Ashraf.
Thank you. Right. So it's an interesting thought, and it's almost sort of come under the radar in the light of so many other issues. And yet, 40 African countries there. I mean, that is a big deal, right?
Well, very much so, Ashraf, especially because it's taking place in a very unprecedented period where global peace and security and also the ongoing conflicts in some parts of the world, including the African continent itself, but also in the main, it's all about boosting the trade between the continent and Japan, because when you look at the Japanese economy, it's still quite a formidable economy, whether you're looking at the automotive sector, the innovation, especially in this context, Ashraf, where you have quite a number of complexities. I think for Africa, it's quite important to make sure that they maintain these partnerships with these countries. South Africa is, of course, represented by President Cyril Ramaphosa, alongside Minister of International Relations and Cooperation, Minister Lamola. So it is quite a very key moment for them. So the last time they met as part of this particular instrument, it was in Morocco, and now it's about really just reflecting on what has been the outcomes and the way forward, Ashraf, in a very harsh geopolitical environment.
Of course. What then is the structure of the summit? I mean, can you tell us more about that in terms of not just who's going to be there, but, what is the structure in terms of are decisions actually made, or is it a often repeated talk shop? What's the nature of it?
Well, obviously, it's really attended by a high-level delegation. You do have the heads of states, but it's got preceded by a number of sessions where you do have the ministers, the private sector, some of the very key entities. In fact, we do understand that today President Ramaphosa has been meeting with a number of leaders, especially from the captains of industry from the Japanese economy, especially now, because it's all about making sure that for Africa, when it comes to development. In fact, to quote the remarks that were made by the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres, he said it should be development with Africa as opposed to just speaking about development and Africa just for aid and stuff. So it's about making sure that they see the tangible outcomes coming out of these meetings, especially because we know the scramble for Africa, Ashraf, where you have all these influential economies. Ever so often they do have the meetings with the continent, whether you're looking in the context of US-Africa meeting, the Chinese as well, they do have their own meeting take as well. So the list goes on and on. But what is always very key is to really see those concrete outcomes being realized, those investments coming through, especially now, Ashraf, where you have all these challenges.
Okay. And I understand it, it being the 9th Tokyo International Conference, meaning it's been held in Japan every year. Why would it be so? I mean, what would it be for them to effectively convene a summit of this type, let's say annually?
Well, so what they do also, they're alternating. So there was a point, for example, where they had it in Kenya, in Morocco, and some. So this time it's being held in Yokohama, And I think for the Japanese, really, it's all about building the partnership with the African continent. In fact, their Prime Minister Ishiba was saying that Japanese, they want to really make sure that they boost their economic ties with the African continent. But I think, Ashraf, what's really boils down to, it's about really making sure that they get like those natural resources from the African continent. But I think what is always a criticism is, does Africa have a plan? If they do go to these gatherings, if Japan does have a plan to really boost their own artificial intelligence plans, but what about the African continent? But I think for South Africa, it's been very clear. It's currently chairing the G20. They'll be using this opportunity as well in terms of really just promoting the presidency of South Africa, because we know that Japan also is one of the key members of the structure. But also, most importantly, there are a lot of things happening on the sideline in terms of promotion of development, issues of peace and security as well.
Okay. I know the theme of the summit is co-creating innovative solutions with Africa. I mean, that sounds wonderful, but at the same time, it's also pretty bland. Are you able to decipher from there what exactly they're going to raise?
Well, that's absolutely right, Ashraf, because when they really now break it down, they talk about issues of realizing a sustainable future where you address the issues of climate change. And we know the very ramifications of climate change in the African continent and the world at large. Also, whether issues of food security as well, they do come under the spotlight, but also issues around human security, issues of promotion of trade and investment. And also, most importantly, this is about really forming that very good partnership when it comes to multilateral development, collective solution to common challenges. They say this is absolutely important, but also the Japanese, they say it's a two-sided of engagement. They really want to make sure that Africa as well is part of these processes and the decision-making processes, but also where the Japanese companies as well, they do go to the African continent. For example, Ashraf, you look at the context of South Africa, you do have about 260 Japanese companies investing here in South Africa in areas around automotive and many others as well. So it's also about expanding the scope as well, where they look at new ways of development.
Right. Just lastly, what then about South Africa? South Africa's president, Ramaphosa, and the people, our country that he represents, considering obviously we're hosting the BRICS Summit. We have specific issues regarding the USA. We have a position regarding Ukraine, Russia. There's the issue of Israel, Palestine. And, of course, the need to grow the economy in a country that is very different run politically compared to the way it was run, say, a year ago. What are the biggest issues that South Africa wants to put forward?
I think the most primary issue, Ashraf, for South Africa is that, I mean, for example, when you look at the recent frosty ties with the United States of America, how Pretoria has been pushing for the framework in terms of the trade deal, I think for them it's quite key to deepen economic ties with so many regions. They will get an opportunity to speak with so many countries as well who are very concerned about the geopolitical environment, but also in terms of South Africa, where it's standing in terms of making sure that how do you ensure that you really boost the whole issue of the value added goods as opposed to just extracting the minerals, the raw materials. So it's all about really making sure that they forge the partnerships, Ashraf, especially, I mean, the president is really accompanied by a number of ministers as well. The trade minister, Pakstow, is there, the electricity and energy minister as well, but also the deputy minister of health as well. Really just showing that these are very key portfolios, and it's about making sure that people do see that enormous difference on the ground.
Yeah. Just the last thing, I mean, on the issue of trade tariffs, now, you know, the issue of USA has been well documented, but what's key out of that is the growing call for South Africa to look elsewhere. Do you get a sense that, therefore, we'll be rather bullish in trying to find, you know, new business, new terrains, new markets in which to do business, and we'll be successful at doing that coming out of the summit?
I think this is one of the pursuit. So this is one of the ways where South Africa is saying that, look, there's so much happening in terms of the global tension, in terms of the allies that we have. How do we leverage on those opportunities? And when you look at the context of Japan, Ashraf, this is quite a very strong economy. And when it comes to innovation, they're leading. When it comes to ICT, they're well established. So there's quite a lot for South Africa to learn. But also in terms of what tend to happen on the sidelines of these gatherings, leaders do meet and really look at the pressing issues, the issues of mutual interest. And undoubtedly, I think President Ramaphosa will have an opportunity to meet with his counterparts to look at the alternatives, to look at the ways of really just ameliorating the situation that is facing so many countries with the recent tariffs that we saw, 30%, albeit I think for the Japanese, they were able to have a bit of a settlement. But when it comes to the automotive sector, they will still have some challenges because I think it's a blanket and an all-round tariff when it comes to the automotive sector.
Well, let's leave it at that. Blanket tariffs. Kaya Litle Kumalo, senior reporter from the SABC News International Desk, now covering and tracking that story of what is called the 9th TICAD Summit, which is really the Tokyo International Conference on African Development Summit. What would you want to get out of that summit? And if you've been there before, for the previous side, then tell us what you make of that too. But certainly for now, what would be for you a big takeout? What about the challenges faced by women in the workplace? It's an issue that is an ongoing discussion, but it always gains momentum around Women's Month. We'll talk about that next.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195 and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply.
The boardroom heat is on and the pressure is rising. The Insurance Apprentice, hosted by the one and only Babi Moloi, is delivering drama, tough decisions, and big personalities every week. Expect bold moves, emotional twists, and contestants you'll either root for or roast. And yes, you'll be surprised what you learn about insurance along the way. Open up to the Insurance Apprentice, Thursdays at 7 p.m. only on S3. Open up.
SAFM celebrates its 89th birthday this month by giving listeners an exclusive opportunity to attend the prestigious Joy of Jazz taking place at the Sandton Convention Centre from the 26th to the 28th of September 2025. To stand a chance to win these sought-after tickets, simply SMS SAFM 89 followed by your name to 41391 and stay tuned to SAFM as we could be calling you. SAFM is the official media partner for the Dipala stage at the Standard Bank Joy of Jazz. Entries open from the 7th of August and close on the 31st of August 2025. Winners will be randomly selected and called from the 1st of September 2025. SMSs are charged at R1.50 per SMS. Free SMSs and SMS bundles do not apply. T's and C's apply. The National Pulse, weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m.
Right, let's talk about some of the big issues that, for now, have prompted you to get it off your chest. So let's hear from you. You can call in right away. You can certainly send us a WhatsApp too on the issues we've covered, including the issue of Sasol and the community around it, the good, the bad, and the not so good around that too. But also the ongoing story around the appointments of the members of the Setas by Buti Manamela. You may comment about that. The DA is certainly not happy. We'll talk to them about that too. And there's more. I mean, the conversation about Tokyo and then global politics, Trump, the Middle East, the offer of a ceasefire by Hamas, and then the ongoing story now that we hear from Israel that they may well want to take over Gaza City. We need to get all the details on that too, but feel free to comment. Here's some comments from you.
Ashraf, it's Chris in Pietermaritzburg. We no longer cannot afford attending these meetings with cap in hand. We need to go there to show off our case. Firstly, the whole thing about generational dividend. We need to showcase that we have young people who can engage in the AI and also can bring back skills for South Africa. And secondly, we've got a lot to learn from countries like Japan that have leapfrogged and really not tried to back anyone and has invested in their in scaling their population. Those are some of the lessons that we need to.
Okay, that's one. And I hear you basically you're saying you need to be assertive about growing new territories. Here's another.
Afternoon, Ashraf. Ashraf, this Lungu family, they're irritating us. They must not abuse our courts. If they don't want Lungu to be buried in Zambia, they must cremate him, put him in a box, go throw the ashes into the sea, or they put those ashes in their cupboard at home. Leave South Africa alone. And he was very lucky to die before Dudula blocked the entrances of hospitals and clinics. They were supposed to Dudula him from that hospital or whatever. And Dudula must stand at wherever the entrance of the cemetery they intend to bury him. He must go home. Norman from Brixton.
But Norman, why are you so angry about this? I mean, seriously, what is it got to do with you? There's Zambia. There are people of a former president in this country. I understand that they wanted him to be buried here. They have their own disputes with Zambia. And then, yes, there's been a legal issue around the policies and the cultural norms of him being buried in that country, and therefore there was a court ruling on that issue. But in the meantime, to say that, he must be just cremated when maybe his faith doesn't even allow that, I don't know. I'm just wondering, why would you do that? Here's another.
Hi, Ashraf. It's MVP. The continent that has got all the minerals, the world, is being summoned by tiny countries or small countries in Asia and the West. Why is Africa being summoned? I mean, we went to China, we went to Russia, America, now it's Japan. The next island that is going to summon Africa will be its own island, Madagascar. Can we stop being summoned and start doing work for ourselves as Africans?
Start doing, but when you say summoned by who? I'm trying to understand what you mean. In the meantime, let's go to Harry Smith. We've been summoned there because Sokolo has got a view on the political parties, right? What's your point?
Ashraf, how are you?
Yeah, very good indeed. Go for it.
Yeah, I'm lost.
Yeah,
I hear that they say the president is gonna increase or implement the increment of a political party fund. Can I ask you, I'm lost now. Who's funding the political party? Is it now a government? I just want to get clarity on this. Is it now a government or it is a private company who's funding? I'm lost now.
Well, look, all right, as far as I know, and I may have missed the whole gist of this one, is that political parties are really funded by maybe by three components. One is you and I, if we choose to, like the public, right, who want to contribute via membership or even just donate money when they ask you. The other one would be big businesses that do that, and many of them fund more than one party they say in the interest of democracy, but they also do it to hedge their bets. So in case one party loses, they have influence over another, and I use the word influence in saying that. The third one is from the IEC itself, and they fund the parties in proportion to their political percentage of the previous election, which does mean, therefore, it's very difficult for a party with high numbers to be toppled by a party with small numbers, because the high-numbered party from the previous election will get even more funding than the other. My personal feeling, I wish there was a situation where all funding only ever came from the IEC and no, you would not get business influence of it at all. I mean, that's just my personal feeling, because with money comes huge influence, as you know, right? Yes, hopefully that you get that, Tsokolo, right? There's more.
Afternoon, Ashraf. You see, the Manamela is caught up between a rock and a hard place. Therefore, the ANC is replacing corruption with corruption at Seta board. over here.
In fact, we talk about that Buti Manamela story just now with the DA coming up very, very shortly. So we'll talk about that. By the way, just let me just see if I've got another one. I want to get a thumbs up from Patrick. I think there's another comment from you. Let's hear it. Here it is.
Ashwaf, there is a caller who just sent a voice note mimicking or celebrating the DA MEC incident. You should be ashamed of yourself. You should be ashamed of yourself.
If you heard me, I think I did rebut that because I did find it I found that in poor taste, as I found the caller from Brixton who suggested that the former Zambian leader needs to be, cremated and just leave us alone. Just get, really, why would we do that? But certainly the one about the attack on the DA leaders, I mean, that's a criminal offense, and we want to gloat over it. There is something wrong with what we do, right? I think. By the way, I want to check if there's another, but let me just tell you something very quickly. I had to go to the Joburg City Council today. I had to sort out some of my long-standing queries with them. But here's the thing that I noticed, okay? It's another world in that place. And I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm just telling you about, people who go there. You go there, you see one person who is clearly over 70-something, all by herself. And you can see the most basic questions that you and I may ask. She was completely struggling with that. Then there was another person who was a foreign national struggling with English, also on his own, trying to make sense of whatever his problem was, right? And I sort of overheard these type of conversations. And then there was this couple, and one of them basically had an oxygen tank with her because, she had to carry it with her, and a large one at that. And that got me thinking about my own mother because, she passed away. But when she was in hospital with her lungs collapsing, the doctor said if she survives, she would have to use this oxygen tank, portable one, for the rest of her life. She didn't do that because she died 2 weeks later. But this is the point I want to make. Seriously, whether it's going to a hospital or going to a city council, service delivery place rates and taxes and water and things like that. Believe me, you can just sit there and observe, and you will have a microcosm of the problems of the world or the problems of the people in 1 hour. It just gives you this insight, and you are wiser for that. You may not be wiser in changing their lives, but it does tell you how vulnerable people are to a range of issues. Think about that. Here's the news. It's 4 o'clock with Ondela.
Thank you, Ashraf. On the top stories, SA Tourism Board dissolved with immediate effect, and Party Committee reacts to party funding amendment. For SAFM News, I am Mondelambana, and a very good afternoon. We'll start with news, Justine. The Minister of Tourism, Patricia de Lille, has dissolved the SA Tourism Board with immediate effect. We'll have details in the next bulletin. Deputy Minister of Transport Mkhuleko Hlengwa has revealed that the road crashes cost the economy about 205 billion rand. Hlengwa was speaking in Cape Town during a stakeholder consultation process aimed at reviewing the National Road Safety Strategy 2016 to 2030. The main objective is to address the scourge of road crashes in the country. Hlengwa described the phenomenon as a socio-economic problem.
12,000 lives, 157 daily injuries, 32 deaths, 205 billion rand to the economy every year. So this is a socio-economic problem. We could use this 205 billion rand for a lot more for service delivery and development. This is money that is taking us backwards, with an adverse impact on hospital services, healthcare services, repair of roads and infrastructure, the road accident fund at almost 50 billion rand payouts every year.
The chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Home Affairs, Musa Chabane, says he's confident that there will be no basis to challenge President Cyril Ramaphosa's amendments of the Political Party Funding Act. Ramaphosa assented to doubling the upper limit of donations to political parties from 15 million to 30 million rand. The threshold for disclosure of donations is up from 100 to 200,000 rand. This follows Parliament's passing of the regulations in May this year. Chabane's statement comes as NGO My Vote Counts says it is hopeful that its challenge in the Western Cape High Court will result in the amendments being struck down.
Political parties do administration, do workshops, pay for their staff, and any other matter that relates to running of the political parties in campaigns, and many other areas that political parties have raised in the contribution. And we think that, in fact, some of the political parties say we must move the quantum to 100 million. And I think you can understand that it's a lot of work within the political parties that they have to carry in order to make sure that they respond to the issues of society.
Justice and Constitutional Development Minister Mamuloko Kubai has encouraged women to occupy leadership positions in professions traditionally dominated by men. She delivered a keynote address at the Women's Month Dialogue hosted by UNISA and the South African Women in Dialogue at UNISA's main campus in Pretoria. The gathering has brought together over 200 women from civil society, faith communities, business and government. Kubai emphasized the challenges faced by young women in rising into leadership roles.
The first one, a lack of role models for women. Women have fewer opportunities to see women leaders that they can emulate because every sector, private, public and social, men dominate senior leadership positions. So our girl children are rising up, young women that we have are rising up having less people to look up to as leaders. What they have in front of them consistently is men who are in leadership position.
Water and Sanitation Minister Phemi Majodina is in Lesotho to conduct oversight visits to a number of projects, including the Podihadi Dam and Singo Bridge and the Lesotho Highlands Water Tunnel. She says South Africa has invested billions of rands in these projects. The Lesotho Highlands Water Project is a bi-national initiative between the two countries designed to transfer water from Lesotho's highlands to Gauteng. It involves the construction of dams, tunnels and a hydroelectric power station. Majodina says South Africa is also paying for the water it gets from Lesotho.
We have invested 53 billion for this project, and this project was delayed for 9 years. The cost since then escalated to 53 billion. But also, we are not taking this water for free. We are paying royalties. We are paying hundreds of millions per month for this water. So I want to dismiss the myth that we are just taking Lesotho people for granted. That is not true. We are paying.
The Indian government has introduced a bill in Parliament to ban online gambling, citing concerns of addiction and potential links to money laundering and terrorism. The bill is intended to stop websites or apps from offering games played by a user paying fees or depositing money or other stakes. The BBC's Anbarasan Ethrijan has the details.
Online gambling has become popular in India with people playing fantasy sports, poker and online lotteries. Endorsements by top Indian cricketers and other celebrities have boosted their appeal. But the government argues these apps are leading to addiction, mental health issues and huge individual losses. If passed, this bill would impose jail terms or fines on individuals and companies offering online gambling services. Industry bodies have strongly opposed the bill.
Recapping the top story, the Minister of Tourism, Patricia de Lille, has dissolved the South African Tourism Board with immediate effect. I'm on Delambana for SFM News Headlines at 4:30.
It's a very good afternoon to you. Let's kick off with a soccer action. Mamelodi Sundowns headlining tonight's Betway Premiership action as the champions travel to Polokwane for a showdown with newcomers Magesi FC, and former UFC champion Dricus du Plessis is already plotting a return with 4 potential opponents lined up. All the details at around 4:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, Winnie Mandela Drive northbound in Bryanston has a crash reported at Ballycare Drive. The N3 southbound in Alexandra has a crash reported at London Road. In KZN, the N2 northbound a stationary vehicle before the M41 gateway exit and the M7 northbound slow moving at Rosberg. In Cape Town, the N1 outbound slow moving towards Okavango Road and Albert Road outbound is slow moving through Woodstock. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
When you're uploading massive files, does it really matter what your internet's download speed is? With business class internet, you get a connection that's as fast going up as it is down. Your company deserves business class internet because just reboot the router isn't a business strategy. Find reliability at vodacombusiness.co.za. Together, let's build the extraordinary. Further together. Vodacom Business.
Hey SA, entries for FlySafe's Business Booster are closing soon. So if you're a small local business that needs help taking off, enter at flysafe.co.za, tell us about your business, and you could be one of 6 standout enterprises to win 10 return business class flights plus brand exposure across our various platforms. Whether you're mixing, matching, crafting, or inventing, we want to help your business skyrocket. FlySafe, for the love of fly. T's and C's apply.
It's a tough day for Mark. Tight deadlines and challenges everywhere. But Mark can rest easy, because when he bought his Hino 700 2845 truck tractor, he received a complimentary service plan covering up to 210,000 kilometers for short haul and up to 280,000 kilometers for long haul. Nice one, Mark. Visit your dealer today to find out more about this limited time offer. Hino, all the way. T's and C's apply.
After a 1-0 draw in the first leg, Masandawana chased victory in their own backyard. While defending champions, Amapagania believe nothing is as sweet as a win away from home. This is the MTN 8 second leg semi-final. Wafa wafa! Do not miss out on Mamelodi Sundowns versus Orlando Pirates this Saturday, 23 August at 2 p.m. Live on SABC 1 and SABC Plus. Also available on SABC radio stations at 3 p.m. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda on SAFM. You're listening to the National Pulse, weekdays 3 to 6 p.m.
So, did you heard that story about me talking about just, whichever councils you go to, whether it's City of Joburg or Pretoria or Cape Town, or wherever you may be, and I'm not getting into the merits of why you go there and who gets paid and who doesn't, but just the difficulties that people at these council offices have to endure for hours on end to get to a situation of getting what they want. But the reality, as you sit there, you do realize that every one of, let's say, 20 people, they have a uniquely different story, yet it is unified by they have a need, and they have a need to solve their problems. And you do realize as you just sit there just how vulnerable people are until those issues get resolved. I wonder if you sort of observe that, fly on the wall when you're there to see what goes on. Just think about it. That's certainly my point for now. Let's talk about, and feel free, by the way, to pick up on any of the issues we've covered so far in terms of what you think. In fact, let me put this to you. What for you would be the big takeout of President Ramaphosa's trip to Japan? What would be the number one thing you'd want him to come out of and to say, hey, that's a big win for us? But that's not all. There are other issues. The Middle East you can touch on if you like. There's developing stories there. Ukraine, Russia, as we know. That first story we covered around the residents of the community of Metsi Maholo. Very, very disgruntled that Sasol's been hiring people from outside of their community, even when they feel they can fill them and they're in that area. But there's more too, right? Now, how about this one here? You may be aware of this. DA members, 3 of them, members of parliament, responsible for, and this is with such irony, they are responsible for police oversight in the Philippi region yesterday. Well, they were attacked in an attempted robbery. And the 3 people are Ian Cameron, Lisa Shackling and Nicholas Gotzel. They were returning from an oversight to the police training college in Philippines. So what actually happened? Let's get the human story to this story with Nicholas Gotzel, the DA MP. Nicholas, appreciate you giving off your time here on the National Pulse.
Hi, Ashraf. Good afternoon to you and to your listeners. And can I just say, for a change, I'm glad to hear people are struggling with my colleague's surname and not mine.
Okay. Did I struggle? Is it wrong? Schickling, yeah?
No, mine is correct. She's Schickling, yeah. But normally people struggle with my
surname. I see. I understand. Okay. Right. Well, what about the struggles that you experienced, the three of you? I mean, tell us what happened firstly.
Yeah, so look, we went to this, to the Philippi training college, the SAPS training college. And as you say, very ironic. We left at about after 1:30. Must have been about 1:45. We approached the first intersection as we left, and as you travel from Philippi, you go through Nyanga. It is notorious. It is a hot spot for crime, and we were then approached by somebody from the right. A guy, I hear now Ian Cameron says that it was a City of Cape Town employee. I didn't see. I was looking at my phone at the time, but he said to us, he asked us to wind down a window, and Ian did that, and he warned us. He said, guys, please be careful. But he was a friendly guy and, clearly knows the area. And as we proceeded to go over the intersection, we kind of hit a little bit of traffic, cars going much smaller, but also there were cars coming from the left, they weren't following the rules of the road and trying to kind of force in. And the next thing, Lisa said that, something doesn't feel right. Why would this guy warn us? And then the next thing, they smashed Ian's window with a brick.
Yeah, sure.
I couldn't see. I mean, I was in a passenger seat. He was driving. Because they smashed it, I couldn't see through the window. But I looked to the back. I looked through the passenger window at the back, and I saw this guy. And because Ian had by now started screaming at them, I kind of looked to the back, and I thought they would retreat, but I just saw this guy with this aggression in his face, and he was coming towards the car again, and I realized at that moment that we were being attacked, and it was a simple smash and grab. But at that moment, another brick was shoved through my window, and it hit me in the head, and by that stage, I'm now told my head went down to my lap, and Ian obviously saw that. And then when I came by, the incident that now happened, Ian had kind of by then told me to kind of take my jacket that was in my hands and put it on my head, because it was bleeding profusely, and it turns out that actually hit an artery on the front of my head. So it was very difficult afterwards actually to contain it. But Lisa was also hit. Her window was hit, but she had time to kind of duck. And we then drove off to the closest fuel station, where we called the police. I called the City of Cape Town's response unit, and then the police saw to us.
How? So, I mean, first of all, I'm just very sorry it happened, and I think many people listening would feel the same, right? I mean, at the time, certainly when you got hurt, because it seems like you got the brunt of it. I mean, are you able to say what went through your mind? Because you never know. For the thousands that survive these type of attacks, you have people who actually never do. They die, right? Did you have a chance in that moment to even think about those things?
Look, I don't know. Maybe I'm an optimist and quite a realist, I suppose, as well. But I think I chose in that moment to not think about it. I've thought about it a lot today. I've done a few interviews. I've spoken about it. But I think my default is rather to say, well, what does this say about the reason that I was there? What does it say about the work that I do? We were there for a very specific reason. Every day of my life, I put pressure on the police to make sure that we have safer communities. And so there are more questions about why we were in this situation than what could have happened. I understand that I need to deal with that at some stage, and I certainly will. But for now, I think what is really worrying is that I see 3 people have now been arrested, but I know that 2 of the persons who were arrested are youths. The one is 16 and the one is 18.
Yeah,
and that doesn't just shock me; it worries me, and it just shows me how much work we have to do.
And what's your the health position of the 3 of you right now?
So poor Ian had to have his teeth fixed. They knocked him in the face with a brick, and he lost 1.5 tooth, I think. And he's quite his lips are like stitched up. I have a 4 centimeter, what do you call it, hole in my head, which they stitched up, 6 stitches. So that's quite sore. I can't really open my mouth very wide. I also have a fractured skull. So I need to take it very, very easy. Lisa also got a knock to the head. She's fortunately okay. But yeah, funnily enough, Ian had said to the 2 of us a while ago, because the 3 of us work very closely together, he said that he would go to war with us anytime. And we just didn't know that we'd be deployed so quickly.
Yeah, it's a good point. Well, that brings me on to the other issue, which I think you touched on to a degree. So to confirm, this was in Nyanga, right? Yeah?
I believe the minute we crossed into that intersection, it was Nyanga.
It was there. Okay. Now, there's been many people who come on shows like this to say when the Western Cape government talks a lot about just how well that region is run, they tend to omit the terrain in terms of the Cape Flats and the other townships, and they different worlds. Now, you can't wish this on anyone to say that you'd be victims of these type of crimes, right? But does this give you a greater appreciation of what goes on there, and therefore a greater need to accelerate the remedies for it?
Yeah, look, the question has several parts to it. So if people want to criticize the Western Cape government, they must firstly remember that the Western Cape government only has oversight over policing. It's the SAPS is a national competency. The reality is that, as I said earlier, we fight on a daily basis about the SAPS's priorities. Now, the question is, if they know that this is a hotspot, why have they not previously deployed more resources to the area? I have several issues that I'm driving in the Western Cape. One of them, for instance, is the use of canine dogs to act as force multipliers. You know that the Cape Flats is ravished by gang violence and specifically drug wars. I don't know if it will surprise you, but the Western Cape the Metro only has 1 narcotics dog.
Oh, that's surprising.
I've written on... Yeah, so that's one issue. Another issue is a crooked cop at a high crime area police station who sold dockets to members of the public and who was dismissed, but the provincial police commissioner overturned his dismissal. Now, the police commissioner is very quiet when we write to him and we issue statements and we say, explain to us about the dogs. Explain to us why there are only two vehicles on the patrol roads on the N1, N2, R300 when there's supposed to be 12 on a weekend. And so when people say that, it's the Western Cape, it's not the Western Cape. It's SAPS. There's a huge issue with the senior management in SAPS. And what we need to do is we need to devolve the policing powers, because you will now know that there are 3 arrests. Now, those arrests were made by the police, but they were made because the city of Cape Town, firstly their emergency response teams, and then the Metro Police, is responsible for those arrests because they are the ones who tracked the person who was shot down to the Lenteghe hospital. They're the ones who traced the car in which the guy was dropped there. So I would really say that the people who have that kind of attitude towards it, what I can say to you,
we're going to leave it. Yeah, we're going to leave it at that. Okay, just put that on pause. I'll pick it up in a moment.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, Think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195 and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply.
Hey SA, entries for FlySafe's Business Booster are closing soon. So if you're a small local business that needs help taking off, enter at flysafe.co.za, tell us about your business, and you could be one of 6 standout enterprises to win 10 return business class flights plus brand exposure across our various platforms. Whether you're mixing, matching, crafting, or inventing, we want to help your business skyrocket. FlySafe, for the love of fly. T's and C's apply.
Think about 6 years ago, when Amapiano was just a musical instrument, when streaming meant watching water flow, not videos online, and remote work was only said when your remote batteries died. So it makes you wonder, what will the next 6 years bring? Hino trucks now come standard with a 6-year drivetrain warranty, covering everything from pistons to gears. So although a lot can change in 6 years, our warranty promise won't. T's and C's apply. Hino, all the way.
Ashraf Garda on the National Pulse.
Right, let's conclude our conversation with the DA MP Nicholas Gotzel. Nicholas, you were saying before we had the break?
Yeah, so I think it's easy for people, and we get this especially in the NCOP all the time, but people don't realize that SAPS is a national competency. We try to help them, and it's if you take what's happened yesterday, if you take the work that the police have done, and we're not taking away anything that they've done, but also the work that the Metro Police has done. What we need to do is we need to make sure that these authorities can work together. We need to make sure that where necessary, powers can be devolved to competent governments, such as the City of Cape Town, so that they can work together, so that they can ensure that there are convictions, because that's the only way in which we are going to address the crime.
Well, let's leave it at that. I'll tell you what, we do need to have a state of the police conversation sometime soon. Nicholas Gotzel, of course, we have a new Minister of Police, as you know. Nicholas Gotzel is the DA MP in the Western Cape. Much appreciated your time here today, Nicholas. Thanks for that. Right, we're going to talk another DA take on another big issue regarding the appointments of people to the seaters by the Minister of Higher Education right after this.
Ashraf Garda on the National Pulse.
Right, you may be aware that the minister, the newly appointed Minister for Higher Education, Buti Manamela, has appointed members to the SETAs, the Sector Education and Training Authority, and that those appointments initially were the cause of huge concerns, and for many people may well have led to the downfall of now the former Minister of Education. Interestingly enough, in terms of these appointments, the DA has rejected these appointments, suggesting that many of them, even the new ones, that is, the new names, are, to quote, corruption tainted. Let's find out what is the story and who are they. With me, Karabo Khaukhau, the DA national spokesperson, as well as MP. Much appreciate your time, Karabo. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Ashraf. Thank you for having me, and good afternoon to your listeners.
Thank you. So let's get straight to it. What is it that so irks you and the DA about Buti Manamela's SETA appointments?
Firstly, let's get the context correct. So the SETA board chairperson's positions are yet to be filled. Those are not yet filled. Mm-hmm. What we are contesting here is the appointed administrators for the SETAs. So SETAs have accounting authorities, that is your CEOs, the executives, and then the board. Nobushen Kabane made board appointments, and that's what we fought her for and eventually got her out of office for. Mm-hmm. Now, Buti Manamela has identified 3 SETAs, the local government SETA, the services SETA, and the construction SETAs, as SETAs that are so poorly performing that they must be put under administration. Their poor performance has to do with serious allegations of corruption there. The Auditor General has made multiple flags on how there's a deviation on supply chain management procedures that are supposed to be followed, contracts that are issued without following proper processes. The whole shebang. There's irregular expenditures that have been identified. We also have outer, which we have seen in the past years that they have been fighting. That there's corruption within the Seta space, about 44 million rand there, with whistleblowers who were employees of the department and these Setas fired arbitrarily for wanting to do what's right. So that's the context. So what then Buti Manamela does is he places these three Setas under administration, and he appoints one, Polokwane. He appoints two, Lishohonolo Masoga, and appoints three, Zukile Mvag. Polokwane is the former municipal manager of the Impuleni local municipality. In that municipality, there's a forensic report that was done by forensic investigations company Comperio that implicated him in about 872 million rand worth of corruption, potential fraud, and mismanagement of funds. That Comperio report specifically details in its body that there were contracts that he was supposed to suspend, but instead extended without justification, even though there were about 12 officials within that municipality who were all linked to the manipulation of contracts awarded and kickbacks, the whole shebang. So that's one person. The second person here is Lishohonolo Masoga. He's a former ANC NPL. He was an NEC in Limpopo. He was also the Deputy Speaker of the Limpopo Provincial Legislature. He's also the CEO of the Messina Makhado Special Economic Zone, where there was another forensic report that was conducted by forensic investigation company Morale that implicated him in backdating payments of a communications company contract worth 4.4 million rand. So the contract was started in June, and then they found a way to backdate them all the way to January to justify payments that were not even part of the contract, that were not supposed to be there. So that person in himself is also clearly not not fit for purpose to be an administrator over a Seta that is dying of corruption. Then the third person we have here is Zukile Mvag, Ashraf. Zukile Mvag is currently the Deputy Director General responsible for skills development within the Department of Higher Education. He's been occupying this post for the past 8 years. For those past 8 years, all 21 seaters in the Republic of South Africa have been reporting directly to him. So all the shenanigans that the AG has flagged, that outer and other investigation groups have identified, all happened under his watch. Not a single soul is behind bars. The AG has also flagged that there were consequence management protocols that were not in place to try to correct any of the mess. So there's no way that this person who has been sitting around idling for the last 8 years is suddenly going to wake up now as an administrator with superpowers to effect any change.
Okay. Well, clearly, I mean, what we need to get a response from Buti Manamela, and we certainly would reach out to him. But I noticed certainly from a DA perspective, and we'll end with this. You know, your statement says we demand Manamela stop this and appoint independent, non-political persons free of corruption implications to deliver an effective turnaround of the system. I mean, there's more. Has the minister responded?
He has not yet responded to my email. I sent it to him last night, so he has not yet done so. And in that letter that I wrote to him, I've detailed all the issues and I've requested that he indeed withdraws. There's no way that with so many public servants in this country who have some worked in departments or government entities that have deemed themselves successful in the Western Cape, in Gauteng, here in your Midvaal, that there is nobody that Manamela can find that is not implicated in maladministration, the mismanagement of funds, in corruption and fraud.
Okay.
So he must withdraw, find credible people, so that we're able to foster public trust, so that we're able to, in the spirit of good, clean, accountable government, be able to deliver the mandate of SETAs, which is skills development for young people, over 60% of which are unemployed in this country.
Okay, let's leave it at that. Karabo Khao, the DA national spokesperson. Much appreciate your time. It's an interesting thought, and I'm just trying to imagine this. Imagine you tell someone, I need 4, 5, 6 people to fill up very, very important jobs in the country, and the only criteria is find someone who's not implicated or not tainted by corruption. In that case, has the bar been raised or has the bar been lowered? Just think about it. Let's get the news headlines. Here's Ondela.
Thank you, Ashraf. On the news headlines, the Minister of Tourism, Patricia de Lille, has dissolved the South African Tourism Board with immediate effect. The Deputy Minister of Transport, Mkhuleko Hlengwa, says the department has directed traffic officials and other law enforcement authorities to introduce stringent penalties for traffic violations. And NATO military chiefs are holding a virtual meeting to try and elaborate on potential security guarantees for Ukraine in the event of a peace deal with Russia. A full update follows at the top of the hour with Greg Hose.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the M1 southbound in Johannesburg, queuing towards Boysons, and the M1 northbound in Midrand has a stationary vehicle reported at New Road. In KZN, on the N2 northbound, a stationary vehicle before the M41 gateway exit causing delays. In Cape Town, the N2 outbound slow moving towards Bunga Avenue, the N1 outbound slow moving towards the M5 Koeberg interchange, and on Koeberg Road southbound in Tableview, a lost load reported before Plattekloof Road. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Good afternoon to you. Let's kick it off with Mamelodi Sundowns. They headline tonight's Betway Premiership action as the champions travel to Polokwane for a showdown with newcomers Magesi. And we have Sundowns forward Arthur Salles admitting that despite a decent start to the season, the Brazilians need to raise the game. I mean, he did say they do not want to focus too much on Magesi, but rather focus on how the Brazilians need to get the job done. Here's Arthur Salles.
It's difficult to talk before the game, but I think we'll give the best. I try to score goals and then win the match.
We also got Orlando Pirates will be looking to thrill their home crowd at Orlando Stadium. They'll host Stellenbosch FC in what promises to be a fiery encounter. And in Durban, AmaZulu aim to make a home advantage count. They take on Marumo Gallants. All three matches kick off at 7:30 this evening. We'll stay with soccer. The Golden Arrows coach, Manqoba Nciti, admits his side remains erratic in front of goal, and that's something he traces back to the psychological setback of their defeat to Siwelele FC. Now, speaking after a 1-1 draw in the KwaZulu-Natal derby against top-flight newcomers Durban City at the Chatsworth Stadium, he praised the fighting spirit to come from a goal down, but stressed that better decision-making in the final third is needed.
I think I will have a lot of goal scorers this season. And I'm anticipating that Dion will always pitch with 1 or 2 goals here and there, but I'm looking at the bulk of the creative players that I have at the back, that I know when they get into the groove, and good enough that we are getting some points in the process and everybody is not as edgy, and the confidence, once it grows, the team will be very strong.
And we go to cricket now. We've got Keshav Maharaj, the star in Cairns, Australia, taking 5 for 33 as the Proteas thumped Australia by 98 runs in the opening ODI, the spinner reaching 300 international wickets in the process. Rugby now, and the Springboks have made 10 changes for Saturday's Rugby Championship rematch against Australia in Cape Town, with Jesse Creel captaining and Oxen Chair named as vice-captain. And in MMA, the former UFC middleweight champion Dricus du Plessis is taking time out to address flaws in his game, but could face one of 4 potential opponents, including Renier de Ridder and Anthony Hernandez, as he plots his return to title contention. I'll be back with a return at the top of the hour with more sports on the National Pulse. I'm Zai Khan.
Thanks for that, Zai. Return, absolutely.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195 and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply.
It is time to experience spectacular football talent from 19 African nations. East Africa is on full vibration. From Tanzania, Kenya to Uganda, the pitch personnel are hungry for continental glory. This is the Total Energies African Nations Championship 2024. Witness Jan 2024 on SABC Plus and SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4 from 2 to 30 August 2025. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
This Women's Month, SAFM stands with the women shaping South Africa's future under the theme, Building Resilient Economies for All. We honor the pioneers, the problem solvers, and the everyday heroes driving change. Stay tuned as SAFM brings you powerful stories and meaningful conversations that move us. SAFM, celebrating women, celebrating progress. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
Economic news on SAFM. Facts and figures you can count on.
Right, Paswane Mpatlele with me from Markway Fund Managers. You've got news locally and globally, but let's start with DRD Gold.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. Yes, the gold miner did give us their annual results, and they delivered solid results, Ashraf. Strong performance with the revenue up 26%, and the profit growth also at a higher rate of 69%, reflecting the margin growth that is being healthy. The cost controls are done well, and all thanks to that, the leveraging of the earnings being good, thanks to that higher gold price they've been earning. The shareholders were not left behind. They were rewarded with a 100% increase in dividends as they show strong cash generation. There's a confidence and healthy balance sheet. The stock was up 1% currently. On the market, the front cautious prevailed ahead of the Fed minutes, and later, of course, the Jackson Hole. Our expectations is of a dovish Fed that supports rate cuts with yields lower. Dollar also lower, reflecting bearish sentiment, helping the general emerging market performance. You can look at South African bonds that are doing well at 9.6%. Meanwhile, the US performance is uniquely under pressure due to the concerns around AA valuation and profitability. But when you look at the confidence signs, credible signs like the VIX that are low, it's reflecting buying opportunity ahead of the big Nvidia earnings coming before the end of the month. When we look at the performance, we're seeing the likes of the US Nasdaq down 1.4, S&P down 0.7, Dow down 0.2. In Europe, the FTSE is up 1%, the DAX is down 0.7. Locally, we've recovered some of our losses, down 0.2. Resources is down 0.6. Financials are flat. Industrials are just down 0.1. When we look at the gold price, it's sitting up 0.8 at $3,344 an ounce. Oil is also rebounding 1% at $65.55 a barrel. And looking at the rand, it's sitting at 17 rands 66 against the dollar, 20.86 against the euro, and 23.86 against the pound.
Perfect. Lots to reflect on those numbers. And of course, there's more detail coming up with Jimmy Moyaha from 6 to 7 when he hosts the SAFM Market Update. The good news, of course, you in many ways host the show by just sharing your opinions about a range of issues. You can tweet hashtag The National Pulse. You can call in live. You can WhatsApp. All those options available. And you can watch us not just listen on the radio. Watch us on YouTube via SAFM. Get the SABC Plus app streaming live. I mean, all bases covered. We'll talk about the EFF next.
X at SAFM Radio and at Ashraf Garda.
Okay, before we get to the EFF story about protests in Limpopo, let's get to some of your thoughts as well, right? And here we are. First of all, about Japan.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. Listen, I hope you're well. I just want to say thank you for your show. It's always very informative. There's always great topics to be discussed, and I think your show definitely has its finger on the pulse. I'd just like to ask one question. With this conference that's happening in Japan, why are there any other GNU representation there? Why are all the ministers from the ANC? Surely the GNU should actually be part of that, and there should be ministerial representation from the other parties. Mark from Cape Town.
Thanks, Mark. I don't know the answer because, of course, I'm not on the inner circle, but it's an interesting one. I would think, again, the minister has the prerogative to take who he wants, or the president, where he sees fit. For example, when they went to the USA, he took certain ministers from other members of the GNU, but some others were notably absent. I would think trade and industry would be an absolute must, but maybe you may throw in agriculture, which I could also concur with, right? So I don't know. Maybe if somebody knows better, then I want to hear from you as well on this issue. Thanks for that call. Right, there's another that we're going to pick up on, and here's an important one too.
Asraf Mono in Cape Town. Asraf, there is something that sickens me in this country, where black politicians, especially from the ANC, will tell us that we are poor because of apartheid. I want to say and repeat that we are not poor because of apartheid in South Africa. The majority of black South Africans are not poor because of the injustices of the apartheid. We are poor because of corruption, selfishness of the ANC leadership and friends and family of the ANC cadres. That's why in this country we've got highest inequality in the world. It's because of the ANC. The ANC have failed to educate, failed to innovate, failed to establish black control enterprises. Even when they inherited the enterprises from apartheid, they destroyed them.
Okay, I mean, that, of course, I'll leave it to you. That's your opinion. I wonder who agrees with you. I wonder who disagrees with you about that, right? Right, what we're going to do, we're going to connect to the representative from the EFF because they've been part of a protest in the Limpopo region. So with me is Lawrence Mapulo, the EFF Limpopo provincial chairperson. Much appreciate your time. Thanks for joining us on the National Pulse.
My pleasure, and your listeners.
Thank you so much. Right. So I understand your party in Limpopo led a protest march earlier today. What was the march about?
We embarked on this protest solely because of corruption, which is ravaging our city of Polokwane through the executive mayor, John, and the municipal manager in that space, and also the billing system of Polokwane municipalities are lawful because the community of Mankweng, which belongs to Polokwane municipality, paid 292. Meanwhile, the entire town and the suburbs and the township of Sesego people are paying thousands and thousands. Not less than 7,000 is paid by the household. Therefore, we are calling on first the security of the officials, the law enforcement to arrest Mpe because Mpe is involved or is alleged to be involved in the shooting of a young girl in Chuchu Valley. And also, he must appear again and account a man that was killed by the security agents that were called by him. And therefore, we want the ANC to do justice for the people of. And this man really doesn't have a heart of a leader.
All right. Just give us a sense. It's interesting. I spoke about this earlier about just the level of disgruntlement that people have. Now, the issues you've raised, high rates of electricity, water shortages, you can include high rates of costs of water too, and so many other issues, municipal management or mismanagement. One can say ditto to that across the length and breadth of our country, right? So for that reason, I'm asking, do these marches serve an actual purpose? Or is it simply a duplication of what's being said every other day on every other platform?
Asraf, we are going to march every day, and we are not going to relax. We will never surrender. We will, because when we marched, the ANC said we are collapsing of Polokwane. And we said because those companies that are operating within the city of Polokwane belongs to the ANC leaders We are not. They know that now. We are tightening their neck. We are going to march everywhere Mpe is going because it's a fugitive. It's a political fugitive. When people march to his office, he's nowhere to be found. Everywhere from Ward 1 until Ward 45, where Mpe is, the people want him. Mpe must go out of that office because the corruption that is taking place, I understand you, Ashraf. You know, if you can be able to have a very skilled journalist who investigate, you will never say again, we have never seen a corruption that is happening like this one.
How? I mean, okay, one is removing the leader in that region, say out, right? And then what? I know it's a wish list now, but then what?
We are marching toward, we are a democratic organization as the EFF. They must pull out, we don't want, but as long as they can put somebody or person who can be able to turn around the situation of high billing system. As I speak right now, old ladies are staying in dark houses. I can bring evidence. And now, also the kind of the billing system they're using. They're using people who are foreign, who doesn't understand also the dynamics of an environment of our own area, the city of Polokwane. They are foreigners, yes, indeed, those companies that are revenue from our people. And what they do, they are no longer bringing that revenue to themselves, but they do it so that they can get the high percentage out of what they've collected.
Okay, let's leave it at that, unless there's something else that you feel that has emerged from these marches and these protests that you think we ought to know, and then you can just tell us.
One thing that I know is that come 2026 is when our people are going to vote. They must vote for men and women from either their political parties, but I say as the EFF, we always deploy people who are disciplined. You can see with the march. Today, our marches, all of them, they are very peaceful. We understand what we are doing, and we will never surrender. We will never relax. We are going to march every day to make sure that Mpe is out of office.
Okay, that's where we're going to leave it. Appreciate your time. Lawrence Mapulo, very clear about changes in that region. We're talking about Limpopo and the marches to the protest march to Polokwane. Lawrence Mapulo is the EFF Limpopo provincial chairperson. And you, let me invite you to speak to us on the back of that, because after all, when we talk about the national pulse, be aware that you are on the pulse.
Spar brings you super savings. Get 120-gram Lay's potato chips, any two for 36 Rand, and 100 megs free data on Spar Mobile, or 2-liter Pepsi, Mirinda, or Mountain Dew, original only, any two for 30 Rand, and 50 megs free data on Spar Mobile. Plus, you could win your share of 6 million Rand in instant cash. Price is valid until 7 September 2025, while stocks last. T's and C's apply.
September 5 is Casual Day. Time to get your Casual Day sticker and gear in support of persons with disabilities. Looking beyond the label, your contribution makes a tangible impact. Visit www.ncpd.org.za. Many thanks from the National Council of and for Persons with Disabilities.
This is an SABC-supported initiative.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195, and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply.
Ashraf Garda is streaming live now on Facebook, YouTube, and X at SAFM Radio.
I certainly am, and you are streaming live with me, by the way. Dr. G in the Western Cape. Let's hear you out. Hi. Dr. G, hello.
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah,
can you hear me?
I certainly can. Go for it. What's your point?
Yeah, yesterday we were driving from the airport, and there was two cars behind me. The first car, in front of me, the first car was stopped by a group of thugs who had a car, and they nearly robbed him just before the Somerset ramp, off-ramp. Then the car which was in front of me, the gentleman came in with a firearm and he started firing randomly. And these people quickly got in the car, drove off, and the other ones ran towards the houses which are on the right. So I thought, let me bring it up because we're talking about what happened to the DAMP. So
Yeah.
thing, it's a daily occurrence. It's happening within our cities and towns and communities. And now all of a sudden the politicians are like, they've experienced it. But what about us normal people who go through this every day?
Well,
I've lost you there. Are you still there?
yeah, I'm there. I think you're right for bringing it up because it's a reminder to all of us that, in fact, we need to amplify, and crime doesn't become bad because politicians are victims. It's a bad occurrence every single day, right? So thank you for bringing it up. I'm not too sure why you called that one person brandishing the firearm a gentleman. Maybe that's the part I disagree with you. When do you lose your gentlemanly status? Think about it, Mr. G or Dr. G. Yeah. Thank you for that. Right, there's more. Mike in Newlands, go for it.
Yeah, I've just returned from Japan.
Okay.
And had a very interesting time there. And one thing about the Japanese and the people I stayed with in the hotel, all very entrepreneurial. And the one problem I had in Japan, and I wonder if our president's going to have the same problem, is we were discussing Elon Musk. He's seen as something of a hero in the West and certainly in Japan, and he is because he's such an innovator. Of course, in South Africa, we think he's a disaster. And I tried to explain to them that, he can't help us. And they wanted to know why is his system not in South Africa? Why is he not involved in his country? And I said, no, he can't come here and he can't work here because he's white. I want to tell you something, Ashraf. It's the most difficult thing to do, to explain to some people sitting around a table, all of different colors and backgrounds, that color of the skin is the most important thing in South Africa. They could not believe the fact that Elon Musk, because he was white, was not welcome in South Africa.
Okay,
And
but
I wonder
Mike,
if he's gonna have that problem. Yes.
Mike, let me correct you, because you said, when they asked you about Elon Musk and why isn't he helping and supporting South Africa, you said, and I'm quoting you now, he said, well, he can't come here and he can't work here because he's white.
No.
But that's not true. So he can't come to South Africa because he's white. He can't even visit South Africa.
Oh, no. Well, Ashraf, I think you know what I'm getting at.
No, I don't know, because it's important. It's important we get the terminology right.
Yes, absolutely. I'm talking about a lot of traffic here. I'm sorry about that. But the point I'm trying to make is that he wants to invest in South Africa. He wants to come here and improve the country's background, our telecommunications, allow people in rural areas to be educated, to get work, and bring us into the 21st century. But he's not allowed to do that unless he gives away a third of his company. Now, I'm just wondering if the president's going to have the same problem I did. And the other problem I had was trying to explain to two guys from Singapore that were on an entrepreneurial conference the fact that if they have special skills, that, as I fortunately pointed out to them, that they would be way too white to get a job in South Africa, they're very likely to be declined. It's a very difficult thing to explain in this day and age, and it just reminded me how backward we are in our country. And I hope the president is going to be exposed to the same kind of embarrassment I had when I tried to explain this is how the new government works in South Africa.
Well, I don't know if it's a new government. If you're talking about new government, it's a new GNU maybe. So the new GNU is only 1 month, 1 year old. Mike, let's agree to disagree on this one, because I think you've got it wrong. If we're saying that Elon Musk can't come here, and clearly he can come here. Can he do business here? Of course he can do business. He can do business, for example, playing by the rules of this country. For example, you can go to Dubai. Can you get citizenship in the UAE? You can't get citizenship, for example. But you still play by the rules of that country. So every country has their own norms and standards. And are we suggesting there are no American countries? Right, let me get that right. Are we suggesting there are no American companies in South Africa? Because if you follow that example to the letter, then that would be what it is. An American, Elon Musk, who owns American companies, who wants to invest in South Africa, and how come all these other companies are doing the same thing? I mean, clearly, I think we understand the complexities of our country, like there's complexities everywhere, but to suggest he's not allowed, that he can't invest here, that's just not true, and maybe you should tell your Japanese friends that. Right, more comments from you. What about the US visa?
Ashraf, hello, this is Tepiso.
You know, the other day I read, I'm not sure whether my facts are right, but perhaps maybe we need to look into this, that China, about 3 weeks ago, has exempted more than 18 countries, I think, visa exemption. But South Africa is part of the BRICS organization and is not even exempted. You know, I now started to question what is the role of African countries, especially in European countries or Asian countries, because it seems like we're not given the respect that we deserve as African countries. And even the diplomatic relations that we have with other countries, I just question, what do we benefit from them? Look at AGOA. AGOA is out of the window now that, you know, the US has new administration. But South Africans, when they come to the US, they still have to apply for a visa, whereas Americans, when they go to South Africa, they don't apply for a visa. How does that work?
Well, I mean, look, I agree with you. How does it work? The question is, how do they negotiate? But it's possible, and I'm not in a circle, you know that perhaps South Africa negotiates from a position of weakness. I mean, although we're part of the BRICS, we're not the biggest country in BRICS. We're not the most powerful, not at all. And you know, size and economic clout and power gives you that leverage. We're clearly not that. But do you find that a contradiction? You'd think if you're if you're a member of that exclusive club, then there should be some perks. And why don't we have those perks or points taken by you? Let's talk about Japan. Another one about Japan. Yeah. No, let's not get to Japan. Well, here's another comment to you.
Hi, Ashraf. Interesting how people can disguise themselves on the radio. That guy from Brixton that says Lungu must go home, he himself is a foreigner.
So where does he go then? Points taken. I mean, yeah. Okay. Talk radio is an incredible medium. That's all I can say.
Ashraf, you said something very interesting and I like it. And think about it in this way. So either there's a law, a policy or whatever that is put in place where big businesses are, or any business, small, medium, large businesses are told to donate to the IEC in order for them to, you know, get a significant reduction in their taxes. You understand? So that they can get some tax rebate or whatever, tax relief. Then IEC can distribute the money amongst political parties according to how big the political party is.
Well, I mean, thanks for bringing it up. Let me put this to you. You know, give me a compelling reason, like a really strong, compelling reason why that suggestion is a non-starter. Why can't it be that if we're also concerned about, you know, sustaining democracy, that we actually fund the IEC, and part of that funding would be a distribution to the political parties, which will be distributed according to their size of the parties on the previous election, and that's the type of funding, and they get no other funding. Give me a compelling reason why that's a bad idea. Think about it. This is the National Pulse. We talk good ideas, we talk bad ideas, we talk about all things. We'll chat to the Contra-Lesser president as well coming up shortly, so don't miss that. But right now it's 5 o'clock. Here's the news with Greg.
Thank you and good afternoon to you, Ashraf. In this news update, SA Tourism Board dissolved and NATO holds meeting on security guarantees for Ukraine. Good day to you. The board of SA Tourism has been dissolved with immediate effect. The Tourism Minister, Patricia de Lille, informed the board about her decision yesterday. A statement issued by her says the board failed to address the legality of the procedures it followed when it convened a special board meeting, at which it took the unlawful decision of putting the CEO on precautionary suspension. Lulama Macha reports.
In the statement, de Lille says the legal advice she received indicates that special board meeting was convened unlawfully, that only a board chairperson is empowered to convene a special board meeting. And at the time of that special meeting, Tourism SA had no board chairperson following the resignation of Professor Gregory Davids. So it acted unlawfully. De Lille says in the interim, she will appoint one or more persons to manage the affairs of SA Tourism Board until a new board is appointed. Lula Mamatya, SABC News, Parliament.
The Deputy Transport Minister Mkhuleko Hlengwa says the department has directed traffic officials and other law enforcement officials to introduce stricter penalties for traffic violations. He says this is part of a review of the National Road Safety Strategy.
How do we take our consequence management directly to the pocket and hit the pocket hard with each offence? Hit and hit and hit until it's felt. But we need to close the gaps so that even if you run away from us for a year, the renewal of your disc, before you get your disc, pay your fines. So those are all the things we've asked her to find a way in the system. Ministers made the example of Australia. The only way you're not going to pay us is if you die or if you leave the country.
Nedbank's legal representative Anthony Gotts has argued that the Competition Commission has failed to connect the bank to the Bloomberg chatroom activities linked to the manipulation of the rand. He says it's merely implicated based on a Reuters trading platform that is noted as sharing similarities with the chatroom in question. Presenting arguments at the Constitutional Court in Johannesburg, Gotts emphasised that the quotes posted by Nedbank on the Reuters public platform were much too sporadic to constitute collusive behaviour.
So what we see is that the case against Nedbank is based on sporadic allegations of cryptic market conduct that the Commission has effectively thumbs up from a set of trading data. The Commission does not put Nedbank in any of the chat rooms. The Commission does not allege that there was any contact, communication, understanding, agreement, consultation, sharing of information between Nedbank and any of the other respondents.
The Water and Sanitation Minister Phemi Majordina is conducting oversight visits to a number of projects in Lesotho. She says South Africa has invested billions of rands in these projects, which form part of the Lesotho Highlands Water Initiative between the two countries, designed to transfer water from Lesotho's highlands to Gauteng. It involves the construction of dams, tunnels and a hydroelectric power station. Majordina says South Africa is also paying for the water it gets from Lesotho.
We have invested 53 billion for this project, and this project was delayed for 9 years. The cost since then escalated to 53 billion. But also, we are not taking this water for free. We are paying royalties. We're paying hundreds of millions per month for this water. So I want to dismiss the myth that we're just taking Lesotho people for granted. That is not true. We are paying.
NATO military chiefs are holding a virtual meeting to try and elaborate on potential security guarantees for Ukraine in the event of a peace deal with Russia. But Russia's foreign minister, Sergei Lavrov, has called any such discussions by Western powers without his country a road to nowhere. The BBC's Frank Gardner has more.
When you look at all these plans, these talks, these preparations, I'm not saying they're a waste of time. They're very necessary, but it's rather like laying the table for a grand dinner party, but the table is built on two wobbly legs. They're going to have to shore up those legs because there's a lot of moving parts here. Russia may not agree to any of this, and Russia is in no hurry to stop fighting. They are very slowly advancing in the Donbass, taking more and more villages, but nevertheless, they're not in a hurry to sign up to any kind of a ceasefire or peace deal.
Top stories of the board of SA Tourism has been dissolved with immediate effect. That's SAFM News. I'm Greg Close.
And it's a very good afternoon to you. Let's go to your sporting news. That's making headlines. The Betway Premiership is serving up another Soweto showdown tonight, with Stellenbosch FC taking aim at Orlando Pirates at Orlando Stadium. And we'll also bring you some action with the Springboks. They've got their bets open. They're looking to muzzle the O'Connor Magic in their must-win Cape Town clash. Let's find out more at around 5:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the R24 eastbound in Kempton Park, slow moving towards the R21 airport interchange. The M1 southbound has a stationary bus reported at Crown interchange, and Christian de Wet Road southbound in Florida Park has a crash reported before Ontdekkers Road. In KZN, the M7 is queuing at the N2 highway. The N2 northbound has a stationary vehicle reported before the M41 gateway exit. In Cape Town, the N2 outbound slow moving towards Bunga Avenue. Voortrekker Road in Goodwood has a crash reported west of Vasco Boulevard, and Main Road northbound slow moving at Cork Bay. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195 and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply.
Channel your inner warrior woman this August on Expresso as we celebrate and empower women across South Africa. From trailblazing heroines to inspiring entrepreneurs, we spotlight stories of strength, resilience, and change. Join us for powerful panel chats, wisdom, wellness, and bold conversations on equality, GBV, and women's rights. This Women's Month, rise with the women leading our nation forward. Weekdays 6 to 9 a.m. only on S3.
Let me get this right, Ron. You're a plumber by day and Pretoria's smoothest wedding DJ by night.
Yeah, it started out as a passion and now I've got bookings until December. And a smoke machine that needs its own seatbelt.
And you sold your car to buy a van through We Buy Cars.
Brew, it was music to my ears. Zero admin, no long queues. They pulled in, checked it out, and before I knew it, I had cash in the bank.
Now that's a banger. We Buy Cars. Geared for your passion, geared for you.
This week on FC Meets, Kisetso and Bandile are joined by journalist and sports broadcasting rising star Mpumi Manyisi. She bears all about her journey through the world of sport journalism and shares insight on retaining integrity and breaking stories. Tune in to SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4 this Saturday, 23 August at 6 p.m. Also available on SABC+. FC Meets. Football made for community by community. Rechencha Game. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda on SAFM. You're listening to the National Pulse. Weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m.
So can I just raise that point that I asked before the news? Give me a compelling reason why that prevents South Africa from adopting a position of political reform where political parties cannot be funded by any business people whatsoever. Yes, individuals can, and I know there's a cap on it at this point in time. Beyond that, they must declare it, but I'm not talking about that. I'm saying no funding whatsoever, and if they're all concerned enough about democracy, they can fund the IEC, and that is ring-fenced, where then the IEC effectively funds the political parties. What is the compelling reason not to do that? Maybe, just maybe, that does prevent a new political party with 0 votes in the previous election from then contesting their very first one, meaning where do they get the funding from? So, okay, I get that. But weigh that up against what has been seen as policy influence by businesses, not just in South Africa, let me add, it's around the world. And how do you turn that around by ensuring that business and big business has no influence over party politics? But maybe I'm dreaming, isn't it? So give me a compelling reason why we should make the change, or a compelling reason why the status quo has to remain. Right, that's my point. What's yours? I want to pick up, we're going to chat to Annabel Bishop just now about the rise in inflation, which increased to 3.5% last month. Before we get to that, today is the second day of the 2025 Traditional Leaders Imbizo in Boksburg. The Imbizo is meant to review rural development, land issues, social cohesion, and the plannings for the future. I would think part of that would also be so the national dialogue and more, right? So let's then speak to Kgoshi Matupa-Mokoena, the Controlesa president. Kgoshi, appreciate your time. Thanks for joining us on the National Pulse.
Good afternoon. You're not speaking to Kgoshi Matupa-Mokoena. You're speaking to Kgoshi Pilane.
Oh, my apology. Okay, there may have been a last-minute change.
The deputy president.
I got that. My apology for that, right. Okay, having said that, the issues remain, and I'm sure you can talk about it. How important is this Imbizo, this coming together of traditional leaders?
Well, thank you very much, and greetings to your listeners. The importance of this Imbizo, it brings the government and business people together to look at how traditional leadership, together with their communities, can be expressed in the legislations and even in the economic sphere for the country.
What for you are the biggest issues that traditional leaders are facing now? You know, we all have challenges, but as traditional leaders, what for you are the biggest challenges, and perhaps to carve out a way forward to overcome those challenges?
Well, at the top of the issues is the Constitution, because the Constitution was crafted in a way that it did not allow the traditional leadership to have its own roles and functions which were not properly included, whereas in all other structures, you go to municipalities or any other governance structure, you find they all have clarified roles and functions. Unfortunately with us as traditional leaders, it's only the position of being the advisors to the councillors or to the municipality. Now, that unfortunately restricts the functioning of traditional leadership. And as you can see, even in when there's this the kids goes to the mountains, you find them, they don't have those functions properly. It is also held by the minister. So we all want to align these things, because unfortunately it polarizes the communities, and eventually there's this unlawful activities and illegalities taking place in our areas of jurisdiction.
Well, let's talk about the areas of jurisdiction. I mean, we talk about this every day about, political parties, how much power do they have, business, how much power do they have, the citizenry, how much power do they have. So what about traditional leaders? I mean, how do you define the powers and the roles that traditional leaders have in South Africa 2025 and beyond?
Well, what we are saying is the state of our country at the moment, in particular in the area of our jurisdiction, which is the rural areas, has gone out of control, because we have been emasculated in taking control, which we used to have prior to the new dispensation. So that's what we are trying to say. We cannot continue with the state of affairs as is in our areas, which is also even expanding to the cities or urban areas. Our people are migrating to the urban areas because we cannot even do developmental projects within our areas. So people run away from our areas, which unfortunately polarizes and discredit our areas, and eventually they now deny our areas to have their own kids who are learned, who can contribute to the development of the areas.
So, I mean, from a traditional leader perspective, if you had the choice then of the power to recraft and to reimagine areas of interest in South Africa, what would they be?
Well, like I was saying, we need to have the powers to do development, so that our areas can also be upgraded. Our areas have been neglected with the previous government, the apartheid, unfortunately, and it's still in the same state because we are not allowed. We are dependent at the mercy of the councillors. We don't have the budgets to do that, and we are even restricted to raise funding for that. Now, this is unfortunately something that really denies our people the improvement and the change of lives that have been planted by the politicians.
Let's talk about the national dialogue then, because whether we like it or we don't, it does impact on every one of us in some form or the other. What do you make of it so far? And the fact, of course, many organizations have withdrawn from it, but also the opening of the conversations took place over the weekend, right? What's your thoughts as, well, you personally, but certainly traditional leaders as a grouping?
Well, we do have a representation which is not adequate, but we were comforted that by the fact that during this in Bizo, it was confirmed that there will be in Bizos or consultations in our different areas from the top to the downwards. So which means there will be in Bizos or consultation at the local municipalities and in our areas. So we will start to contribute from there with our communities, obviously.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and therefore, just getting to the end of the conference in terms of your key themes and takeaways. I know we've touched on some things as well, but of all the things we've spoken about, what would be the one thing that requires the most urgent attention on behalf of traditional leaders?
Well, the most urgent attention is for government to ensure and assist traditional leaders to be functionaries who can have the budget to do developmental projects in their own areas. And obviously, that will also require the amendment of the Constitution and even some of the legislative.
Okay, the natural one is who would fund that. That's another conversation for another time. Appreciate your time, and that's Khosi Nialala Pilani, the Contra-Lesser Deputy President, reflecting on the traditional leaders in Bizo that's been taking place, east of Joburg over the last couple of days. You are very connected to the National Pulse, and I need to be connected to you. And how do you do that? You can do that by calling in live. As always, you know that to call in live, it's you got the number, you must save it, right? 086 000 2032, and then WhatsApp 0614 104 107, 0614 104 107. And that you can send us a voice note, or as well, you can do the same by our text messages. You can tweet anytime. When you do tweet, hashtag the National Pulse, tag SFM Radio, tag myself. Love your original thoughts on Twitter. We try and read some of them on air, and sometimes we can't, but I'd certainly love it if you do just that. Let's see if we can pick out. We're going to chat about the increase in inflation in a moment, and it's been driven very much by food price increases, so I understand. We need to find out why, and therefore what are the implications of that as well. Now, do you have a thought? Let me remind you, you know that I always emphasize it's very important. The podcast we have, just about everything we do on the show in terms of interviews are put up as podcasts. So how do you get to them? Go to safm.co.za on the website. Then you get, the / podcast, then / the National Pulse, and then you get all the breakdown of the interviews, and it's done in date order from last to first, right? Ironically, when I met Lesiba Tefu the other day, and hope he's listening because he was saying I listen to the show often, right? And he was teasing me. He's like, Ashraf, I just love the fact that people call you all sorts of different names, right? And yesterday we had a few people calling me Ashral and whatever, right? So I said, honestly, I really don't mind. I think we mustn't digress from the issues. So I accept the fact that sometimes they have difficulty pronouncing my names, and sometimes I have difficulty pronouncing your names. In the greater scheme, I'm absolutely fine with it. I want to hear what you have to say. But for the record, the name is spelled, pen and paper. It's ASH like Ash, right? So ASHRAF. But it's less pronounced like an Ash, but more Ashraf. But ASHRAF, right? So great to connect with you on the National Pulse. And I'll get your thoughts on that. Right names and wrong names right after this.
Aspire to lead in tech? Mancosa School of Information and Digital Technology offers flexible tech education for in-demand job skills. a proud member of Honoris United Universities. To enroll, visit mancosa.co.za. It is time to experience spectacular football talent from 19 African nations. East Africa is on full vibration. From Tanzania, Kenya to Uganda, the pitch personnel are hungry for continental glory. This is the Total Energies African Nations Championship 2024. Witness Jan 2024 on SABC Plus and SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4 from 2 to 30 August 2025. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Do you know what's hiding behind the colorful packaging of unhealthy food? Big food companies target children with unhealthy packaged foods that hide high levels of sugar, salt, and fat, which could lead to heart disease, diabetes, and hypertension. But the truth is hidden from consumers. Front of package warning labels are a proven solution to help consumers make informed decisions. The government must act now. We have the right to know what's in our food. Demand front of package warning labels. Sign the petition on heala.org, HEALA.org, by the 30th of September.
The Big Breakfast Show. The legendary singer-songwriter Lira talking about healing. I'm really sorry.
Oh.
I'm really sorry about the mom. I'm really sorry for bringing it up. Yeah. May her soul rest in peace. It's never nice losing a parent, especially a mother. Yeah.
And she played an important role in your recovery.
Yeah. In my life, in my career. So we were so close. So I'm crying.
I know.
The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda. Weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m.
Okay, we're going to pick up, we'll have a chance to take your calls as well, which we'll do just in a moment or so. In the meantime, there's a chance for you to, let's see if we can pick out some of the voice notes that we can play, because there's a range of topics that we have on this issue. So let's see if we can do that. I just want to get that sorted out. Yeah. Okay, we'll just get keys to do that. All right, if we can get Patrick to sort out some of the voice notes. But I was telling you about the podcast, okay? And what's interesting is we actually have just about all of them. So often we'll get people say, when are you going to put out the podcast? I can tell you now, we're so quick with the podcast. Vusani does it, that it comes out as quick as, like, I think often about 10 or 15 minutes after an interview is done. The podcast is already flighted, first on the SFM website, and then we also tweet it out and Facebook it. So it's very, very quick. If you follow SFM Radio on Facebook and Twitter and everywhere else, you'll find it. But otherwise, the actual website will tell you that as well. Let's see if we can play some of the voice notes, I think, and as soon as we can, we'll do that in a moment or so. Right. I wonder, have you been following that story regarding Israel and Palestine? I touched on it at the beginning of the show. I find it, and I need to just read this whole thing properly. What I understand, there's a go-ahead now from Israel to say, take over, you can use the words you like, Gaza City in Gaza in Palestine, and therefore urging people, Palestinians, to move southwards so they can take over that region. That's the official line in terms of how the groups are saying it, but I stand under correction. That's why I want to know how you see that and what do you see then as the master plan around that. And the point I brought up earlier is, like, if that be the case, are you not surprised that there's been so little uproar about just that? And what would have happened if another country, let's say South Africa, did the same thing? I mean, how would we respond around that? Okay, let's talk inflation in South Africa. So according to Stats SA, South Africa's headline inflation rate increased to 3.5% last month. I was going to say last night. No, last month. And that's up from 3.0% in June, right? So 0.5% up. And that's the highest reading since September of last year. So it's a year ago that we were that high. Now, the rise in headline inflation was primarily driven by a jump in food prices. So let's understand why would that be the case. With me is Annabelle Bishop. She doesn't sell foods, but she, as an economist at Investec, she certainly analyzes the economy. Annabelle, appreciate your time. Thanks for joining us on the National Pulse.
Yes, hi, hello.
Thank you. So firstly, I mean, let's talk about that. Just the fact that it's the highest jump since just about a year ago. Does that surprise you, firstly?
So we did expect to see a rise because, unfortunately, we had very high increases in electricity and water prices. And, of course, electricity prices rose close to 9% year on year in the CPI inflation readings today, and water prices 7%. Now, that's well above the 3.5%, even the 3% of the previous month. So this does tend to be a time in the year when we do see a jump in inflation. And, of course, that's because the electricity and water prices are surveyed once a year.
Let's talk then about the food part of it. The thrust of the conversation is that headline inflation driven by this jump in food prices. Do you concur with that theory, firstly?
So the rise in headline inflation was driven by the electricity and water prices, as I said, and that counted for 0.6% of the 0.9% increase. So just as inflation is a year-on-year measurement, we're talking about the 3.5 versus last month's 3%, so inflation can also be measured on a month-on-month basis. And obviously that's a smaller movement. But out of the 0.9%, 0.6 was electricity and water, so very strongly driven by that component. Food was only 0.1, and of course, transport another 0.1. That's the fuel price increase there, and then lastly, residual 0.1. So on a year-on-year basis, that's where you tend to sort of drive more towards food, but that's more of a longer-term underlying driver. Just this month itself, however, it was mainly the administered prices, as I said.
How? We're looking at the listener, person listening to you and I talking, and not sometimes, often listeners are like, they're not interested in the macro issues, but they're very interested in how it affects them directly. How does this affect the average listener here on SAFM?
Yes, so that's a very important question. And of course, what we really come down to here is what does it mean for interest rates and, of course, the cost of living. From a cost of living perspective, it really means that it's gone up by 3.5% compared to the year before. Now, without the electricity and water increase, as we were saying, they would have been close to 3%. Now, if we turn to the interest rate outlook, we have seen our Reserve Bank has said it's now going to try and target inflation at the 3% as opposed to the 4.5% mark. So they expect to see inflation coalesce at 3%, and while it's gone up recently, and we've discussed why, could go up a little further this year, it's expected to come down back towards that mark. So the Reserve Bank has said they expect more interest rate cuts rather than less as a consequence. A little bit difficult really to get into the technical details, but what they're saying is they believe people will start to expect inflation at a lower level, at 3%, 3.5%, not the 4.5% mark, and people will adjust their behaviours, and that will be a self-reinforcing expectation. So that's really where we're sitting with those different components.
Well, it's interesting we talk about interest rates going down because we would certainly welcome that. But, the other side of it is, if I look at two or three key issues, indices that affect us daily, one is electricity, right? And the other is water. And third one, all linked really, is rates, right? We on this upward cycle every single day, and it affects every one of us. And, unless you're super rich, you are so vulnerable on that. Why do you think that's the case, and that it appears to be sort of left unchecked?
Yes, so I think, that's really we talk about state-administered prices, government-administered prices, and you've already noted them. Electricity, water, rates and taxes, also fuel prices there. All of those can have big moves, as we know, and they're determined by the government. The private sector, which really, sets in prices, more on items like food and, of course, clothing and, goods that you buy in the shops, and even services, that's partly impacted by the cost that it takes to make them. But as we said, these prices faced by the consumer are very high for electricity and water, in particular when you look at the cost increases, partly because infrastructure is so run down. And of course, we know what's happened under corruption and state capture, how money is, being leached out of these institutions. And of course, these big debt levels that need to be repaid back because of that. So all of these factors do unfortunately tie into making it more difficult for the economy to have a sustainably low inflation rate because of these, very high price increases. But we've been lucky in terms of the fuel prices. That's really determined by international petroleum and oil prices, and of course as well the rand-dollar exchange rate. If we move into a high global oil cycle, then of course things could change. We could be back to those big petrol price increases, which I'm sure you recall.
Absolutely. Okay, I think enough for us to chew on for now. Let's leave it until another day. Annabelle Bishop, much appreciate your time. Annabelle Bishop is the chief economist at Investec. And yes, true to form, this conversation will be up as a podcast very, very soon. What's up next is the news heads with Greg Hoos.
In the headlines of this half hour, residents of Tabanchu in the Free State have bemoaned the appalling state of their pit toilets. The board of SA Tourism has been dissolved, and officials in Nigeria say the death toll in an attack by gunmen on a mosque and homes in Katsina State has now risen to at least 50. There's a full update at 6 o'clock.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the N3 northbound in Bedfordview has a stationary bus reported before Giluli's interchange. The M1 southbound in Southgate has delays on the link to the N12 West, and the N1 southbound has a stationary bus reported at Crown Interchange. On Barbara Road, Kempton Park, that's where a crash is reported at the R24 highway. In KZN, the N3 eastbound has a crash before Key Ridge, and the M7 is queuing at the N2 highway. In Cape Town, Jan Smuts Drive southbound in Athlone, queuing towards Klipfontein Road. Koeberg Road northbound in Maitland, slow moving towards the N1 Koeberg interchange. And Plattekloof Road westbound in Tableview, queuing towards Koeberg Road. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Right, Zai has got her fingers on the sporting pulse, no question about that. Zai, I believe you've got a story about Stellenbosch FC.
Yeah, it's you can see the mind games have already begun with the Orlando Pirates returning to league action tonight. They're under pressure, apparently, to turn around a stuttering start to their Betway Premiership campaign. The Buccaneers have managed just one win from their opening 4 matches, and they face a confident Stellenbosch side at Orlando Stadium. The Stellenbosch winger Devon Titus has cautioned against underestimating Pirates, saying a wounded team can be the most dangerous. Kickoff is at 7:30 in Soweto. In the meantime, Mamelodi Sundowns forward Arthur Salles admits that despite a decent start to the season, the Brazilians need to raise their game with a quick turnaround between their cup tie against Orlando Pirates at the weekend. Salles emphasized recovery as a key element.
I don't feeling too much different, but this is, of course, we play in the weekend and then travel is okay. It's a little bit tired, but now we need to recover and put the mind in the right way and then give 100%. I wait for you. I wait for you there in the stadium and support us because you need this force for win the match.
And also at 7:30 kickoff, it's Amazulu. They'll be turning Kwamashu green. They're taking on Maruma Galans, and it's free entry for all, and it's happening at the Princess Magogo Stadium. Springboks are preparing to muzzle the Wallabies fly half James O'Connor, and that's in Saturday's must-win rugby championship clash in Cape Town. O'Connor orchestrated Australia's comeback in Johannesburg last weekend, and Bok utility back Sasha Feinberg Ngomezulu says the team has worked out solutions to shut down the wide passing game. The Boks insist their defensive system remains their strength, and they are determined to bounce back from that 38-22 defeat at Ellis Park. Kickoff at the DHL Stadium is at 5:10 in the afternoon. Cricket, the Proteas spinner Pranel Subrian facing an anxious wait after being reported for a suspect bowling action in his ODI debut against Australia. The 31-year-old, who took 1 for 46 in South Africa's 98-run victory in Cairns, has been cited for throwing under ICC regulations. He will now undergo an independent assessment at an accredited testing facility to determine the legality of his action. Until then, his participation in the ongoing series remains uncertain, leaving the Proteas a bowler short as they head into Friday's second ODI, and that's in Mackay. And finally, tennis. It's the mixed doubles action. Third round and quarterfinals as Jack Draper and Jessica Pegula ended Emma Raducanu and Carlos Alcaraz's run with a 4-2, 4-2 win before cruising past Daniel Medvedev and Mira Andreeva 4-1, 4-1 to reach the semi-finals. The top-seeded pair will return to Arthur Ashe Stadium tomorrow as they continue for the push, and that's the $1 million US dollars Champions Prize. We also had Iga Swiatek and Casper Ruud. They reached the US Open mixed doubles quarterfinals as well with a 4-1, 4-2 win over Madison Keys and Francis Tiafoe. Under the event's new fast-paced format, they later advanced to the semi-final, defeating Katie McNally and Lorenzo Musetti 4-1, 4-2. And that's how we wrap it up here on the National Pulse Sport. There'll be more Top Sport, and that's with Michael Abramson from 7 p.m. I'm Zai Khan.
And we're going to hold you to that. And Michael, of course, right? 7 to 8. Thanks for that, Zai.
The Morning Brief.
I don't even know what's there to say, what's left to say in terms of analyzing this situation, this unemployment crisis that we face.
To the Sizwe, we need a revolution, not a national dialogue. The DA came up with an idiotic so-called plan to address unemployment. Can South Africans ask the DA, if we get rid of BE and we get rid of employment equity, how the hell are people going to create jobs in an economy that hasn't grown? I can't understand why this government finds it so difficult for so long to create jobs.
That's Duma Qubule, the independent economist.
Tulasizwe Simelane on The Morning Brief. Find the podcast at safm.co.za. Gender-based violence is destroying lives and tearing communities apart. It happens in homes, in schools, at workplaces, and too often in silence. But it doesn't have to continue. If you see it, speak out. If you are hurting, reach out. Because doing nothing is not an option. Listen to all 19 SABC radio stations from Wednesday, the 23rd of July for hard talk, discussions, advice, dramas, educational shows, and interviews around GBV with experts, survivors, lawmakers, and a whole country affected by gender-based violence. All on your favorite SABC radio station. Call 0800 428 428 to report abuse or get help. GBV, it ends with you. This message is brought to you by the SABC.
Economic news on SAFM. Facts and figures you can count on.
Well, Jimmy Moya has all those details. He hosts the SAFM market update. And Jimmy, the big number you have right now is the Ford recalls. How much?
Good afternoon, Ashraf. Good afternoon to the listeners. 20,000 Ford cars is the number. Well, a little over 20,000, depending on what it is that you're factoring in here. Safety issues are the talk of the day here. We're going to be speaking to the National Consumer Commission around that. They, of course, handle all of these recall complaints and investigations, and we're going to take a look at what is going on there. Then we've also got a conversation with the team at DRD Gold. They gave us an update on their full year's performance, a strong performance amidst a stronger gold price. We're going to speak to the company's CEO and get a sense of that and what's been happening there. Then we've got a conversation around the Setas in South Africa. The Bureau for Economic Research has conducted some interesting research that analyzed the Setas over the last 13 years, and with more than 165 billion rand being put into Setas through the Skills Development Levy. The question that we're going to ask is, what do we have to show for it? And then we're going to wrap up the show with an executive lounge conversation. We're going to be chatting to the Group Executive for Personal Banking at Capitec, Basani Maluleke. She's got quite an interesting story around her work and around her family time. We're going to speak to her and get to know her a little bit better. Before we get to that, the markets have certainly had an interesting day. equity markets, not really the most positive, bit of a mixed bag across the board, whether you're looking at local or international markets. The bulk of international Asian markets were in the green. The only market in the red was the Nikkei, down 1.5%. European markets were down in the case of the DAX and the CAC 40 in France, but up in the case of the FTSE in London, that was up about 1.1%. Nasdaq currently, or as of couple of minutes ago, around 1% in the red. S&P down more than 0.2%. Local markets were down on the day, 0.14% in the case of the All Share and the Top 40. This was largely because resources were down 0.25%, industrials were down 0.15%, and financials were basically flat. Interesting that resources were down because commodity prices were all on the up. If we look at platinum, palladium, and the gold price, all in the green. Gold, $3,341 a fine ounce. Platinum, $1,342. Palladium, $1,118. The Brent crude price, happily, still $66.40 a barrel. We're not near the $70 a barrel level and would like to not go there. And a quick look at currencies before we go. The rand, 17.67 against the US dollar, 23.80 against the pound, and 20 rand and 61 cents against the euro. One Australian dollar is a lot stronger, 11 rand 37 cents, and one Bitcoin will set you back 114,100 odd US dollars, or in rand terms, that would be around 2,017,000 rand. We're going to look at these and other market movements with Sasfinwell's David Shapiro when we come back on markets a little later on, but that's obviously just after the 6 p.m. news. For now, Ashraf, back to you.
Perfect. Thank you for that, Jimmy. You get ready. You've got 15 minutes or so to go and enjoy your show. It's always a great show to listen to. You learn so much about business and the markets. If you don't know about money, really, you have to invest your understanding of money. Like, did I say it? If you support Chiefs and you win 3 on the trot, then what's the Chiefs equivalent of winning 3 on the trot in money terms? Think about it and invest time listening to that show. Right, I need to listen to you right after this.
Ashraf Garda is streaming live now on Facebook, YouTube, and X at SAFM Radio.
Okay, I need to hear you. You can call in live, 086 000 2032. What is it you want to get off your chest? What do you think moves the national pulse today and really gets your pulses racing, gets you all worked up? You tell me.
Good evening, Ashraf, to you and your team. You know, it's interesting that you mentioned the pronunciation of your name, but for me, it's your surname, actually. I'm never quite sure whether the R is a little bit silent or you emphasize it. So is it Ashraf Garda or Ashraf Garda? Like, yeah, something like that. Well, thanks for a good show.
Thank you so much. In fact, it is emphasized. So not a hard R, but it's not a silent. It's not an anglicized like gardener. It's not that. It's Garda. So Garda, Garda. Yeah, and it does get emphasized. I'm sorry, it gets mentioned without being emphasized. If that makes any sense to you. Thank you for that. Much appreciated.
Good evening, Ashraf, to you and your...
Okay, we've got that one. Let's get to another. Here we are.
Good day, Ashraf. I am Sibata Letswana, Sibata. So people normally say Sabata, Sabata. And I'm used to that. So I've been trying to correct them, but they are not budging. Sabata, 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 Sibata. East London.
Thank you. I tell you what, you brought up another issue. So listen, none of us, have English names. I mean, thank goodness for that. We come from different backgrounds, different cultures, so we have different names. And what's obvious to me is not obvious to you. And of course, a lot of the names we learned, right, from interactions with other people. And sometimes we get things wrong, and the pronunciation is not just perfect, right? I think that's less of an issue if we just tolerant of each other. I think what I don't like, for example, is if a person's got a name from a certain culture. So let's say a Xhosa culture, and then you say but to make it easy for you, you can call me Joe, for example. If you want to be called Joe because that's what you want to be called, that's fine. But don't do that just so say okay, to make it easy, because no English and American is going to do that for you. No, they're not going to do that. So I don't think why we should do it. I mean, that's just my quick thoughts on that. Right, here's one on that issue we brought up earlier, Elon Musk.
Ashraf, that guy, Mike. Come on, Mike, come on. Which country are you living in? The majority of the rich people in South Africa are white males. So I don't know what you're talking about. Elon Musk does not want to come to South Africa or support South Africa because he is against black people. He's shown this, his racist tendencies, influencing Donald Trump in the White House with certain decisions.
Okay, I think you made your point, and a lot of it is amplified by what I said. I mean, forget even South African white people. What are American companies doing in this country if that were the case?
Ashraf, yeah, I mean, you see, the problem is now if it's proportional funding, we'll have a challenge whereby, the majority or the party with the biggest vote will always have, enough funds, enough muscle to do campaigns and gather more votes. So, yeah, that model wouldn't work because eventually they will always have the majority of the funding from the coffers.
But the fact is, at the moment, they already get funded from the IEC, and it is already done proportionately to their previous vote. So they're already getting more. But what they do is the 2-3 bigger parties get far more by business. I think, for example, the DA disproportionately gets more, not from the IEC, because that's not right. I'm talking about from business funding. The DA, disproportionate to their percentages, they get a higher percentage of funding. I tell you what will be very interesting if we lay down a matrix or a matrix to say, linking the numbers of votes that a party gets with how much funding they actually received, and therefore what percentage. So, what does it cost? So, for example, it'll be maybe every vote costs 100 rands, for example, but for another party a vote costs 200 or costs 150 rands. I really want to know. I think it'll be a very interesting conversation to have.
Good evening, Ashraf. This is Makwara Chinyazo from Toyando. Yes, while we know that our president is in Japan right now, but our president is always attending different summits across the world to attract the investment. But the problems we have is that we are here sitting with the highest unemployment here in South Africa, but we are not seeing the effects or the results of all these summits,
So what are we saying? The president shouldn't actually attend these summits around the world? Honestly, I do think that would be naive. Okay, what we'll do is there's more to come, and let me put that soundbite on pause. I will hear you, starting with Thokozani right after this.
Kathy Motlatlana on SAFM.
Aya, let me start with you because you are currently in Gaza and I guess you're seeing and experiencing firsthand.
Each day begins with a battle of uncertainty, a battle of searching for food. Will we find food? Will we find water? Will we survive the next airstrike? So here, everything is a battle of survival. People walk for hours just to fetch a small amount of unclean water. There is no running water in most places. Families here are forced to cook, if they have anything to cook, over wood, plastic or trash or something like that, because no cooking gas here is no longer available. Children collect anything to burn.
Aya El Mashharawi, who's an academic lecturer in the Gaza Strip.
If you're ready to talk, I'm here to listen and nothing is off the agenda.
X at SAFM Radio and at Ashraf Garda.
All right, I need to hear more from you. Thokozani in German, let's hear what you have to say. Hello.
Hi, Ashraf. Good evening. I was about to call you before Mike called in, and I was trying to call SAFM, saying that what happened to Mike from Newlands? I haven't heard him, and there he goes, and you feel like, oh gosh, that guy is still living on that la la land, and you've handled him, and I don't know whether you sometimes miss Mike, but now he'll come with that, and you'll understand that, oh gosh, there is that painful itch that you come in, but he's our regular, what you call, comedian.
You're making me laugh now. Or regular. I think he won't be impressed by that. The regular comedian is probably listening. But listen, Thokozani, here's my thought on the mics of the world. Look, it's obvious we all have different opinions about many things. If we look at 10 big
Yes,
issues,
indeed.
you and I also differ, and that's okay. And I think when people call in, they must also understand it's not just them voicing an opinion, but they're also part of an information entertainment forum. So when you're on air, like you're talking to me now, you're effectively like a mini broadcaster right now, okay? So it has to be interesting. Now, the problem is this: when people come on and they repeat the same things all the time, they're not interesting. They really are not interesting because you
I know
can't,
that.
you can't, like, I don't know, you can't say, just for example, your pet subject is Kaiser Chiefs, and I discuss rugby with you. You can't say, but I know we're speaking rugby, but let me tell you about Chiefs, and then let me tell you about Chiefs. It's not interesting. That's number one. Number two is this: I think it's not right when people make sweeping comments that are unsubstantiated. They package their opinions as fact, and that's not true. And I think that sort of thing is wrong. So today we've had three like that, in my opinion. We've had Mike, then we've had, I think there's Norman from Brixton, who spoke about
it's Norman and the.
No,
and
you
the
can't
guy
say that. I mean, you can't say go and
Yes,
cremate. I mean, like,
indeed.
you're telling
And
someone to
indeed,
change their culture because you don't like it, so go and cremate it. How would
No,
that's not
no,
on.
no.
And then I think we had the previous caller, the lady who sort of gloated about the fact that
About the
now, in my opinions, all three of them are wrong. I don't think they should say that. Not
So am I. You cannot justify your opinion and try to shove it on other people, specifically on the broadcast like SAFM. We do differ, but guys, please don't try to. And I'm so grateful that we have you, Ashraf. You can normalize the abnormal situation that we are living in.
Well, listen, we had that phrase, no normal sport in an abnormal society, but you're saying normalize the abnormal. Now, that's not easy. Tokozani, appreciate your call. I think it's a really good call, okay? Thank you for that. Keep it going. Let's get to another. I think it's Incognito in Durban. Are you Incognito in talking about Japan?
Yes, Ashraf. Good name, bad name. When last were you called Afrash?
No, yesterday I think it was Ashral, but hey, that's cool. I'm fine with it. I really am.
Okay, no problem. Man, the guy that, the gentleman that just went off right now, he actually touched on what I wanted to say about Mike, but that's not the point. What I want the president to take out from the summit is for him to look around the country, the archipelago of Japan. Look at its infrastructure. Look at how the people commute, how the people work, their work etiquette, all of those things. And he might actually learn something. We are just currently having this problem with our transport in terms of the taxis and the e-hailing, right? In Japan, the trains are so ubiquitous there that you might find a train station like in every 10 to 15-minute walk. And the trains are on time, you see. And it's like whenever a train has to delay, it's never more than 30 seconds. You see, that's the type of precision that our president needs to learn from there. And when he comes back here, he needs to implement these things. There was a quote that said that the president has no use going abroad. If he does not see what's there and brings it back home, I don't really see the need for him to do such things.
Okay.
So, yeah, man.
All right, got
Thanks.
that. But I must tell you, I don't know if all of that is the president, although one may go back to the Singaporean leader whose name just slips my mind now, who imposed his culture, if I can call it, his work ethic culture on a nation, and they became better for it. And I mean, they're a global leader, a tiny island nation called Singapore. So on the one hand, I'm saying, I don't know whether Ramaphosa or any president can impose his, work ethic culture on an entire nation of 60 plus million plus people. On the other hand, if he's able to shape it to some degree, I think it'll be good, because you are right. We are too tolerant of mediocrity on so many things. So, where even if a train comes 10 minutes late, it's like it's on time. How can 10 minutes late be on time? And, you and I can give 100 examples beyond that. So thank you for that call, Incognito, right? Sianda in Utenegg, you're live. Let's hear your thoughts.
Ashraf,
yep.
The likes of Mike needs to be told when they are lying. We don't have to sugarcoat it. Let's tell them that they are lying. Ashraf, the likes of Mike are...
Sianda, it's not because I was offended by what you said. I have no idea why we lost you. We'll hopefully get Sianda back on the line. That Lodwick in Limpopo, you're live. What's your point?
Hi, Ashraf.
Yeah.
My point is that we keep on hearing from the president, our politicians, that we need to grow the economy to fight unemployment and everything like that. So, or the development of this country. My view is that we can't grow something that you not own it. We know for a fact that our government doesn't own this economy. The owners of this economy, we know one of them is Johan Rupert, right? Why I'm saying that, we remember during the State Capture Commission, when Jacob Zuma was in there, he mentioned the fact that, Mbalula received a call from Johan Rupert, telling him that Jacob Zuma must not dare to replace Pravin Gordhan, because if he dares do that, he's going to collapse the rand. And we know what happened there. So now, this is not something that I'm just getting out of nowhere. And then that Jacob Zuma's testimony was not tested in anyhow. No one bothered to go and try to follow up as to find out as to how can an individual say that and at the very same time our economy collapses like that. So the only solution for this country is to come and have a leader, even if they call them dictators, the likes of Ibrahim Traore of Burkina Faso, who will come and put the interests of the people at heart, nationalize everything, these monopolies, banks and everything, take up everything to the state.
I hear you. I tell you what, we need to have a conversation about Ibrahim Traore soon. I mean, Kathy chatted about it a few months ago. I know that, but we need to the real workings. What's his ethos? What's working? What's not? What are the pitfalls? How much of it is true? I mean, I know he's kicked out the French, but how much of it is true and how much is not true in terms of changing the lives of people? So I take your point, Lodwig. Thank you for that. That previous caller that we lost. I mean, you were touching on Mike. We need to call them out when they're not being truthful. I think to a degree I did do that. When you says Elon Musk cannot come to South Africa. Of course he can come to South Africa. And there are many other examples as well. All right, let's pick out others. Here's one on the issue we touched on earlier, crime.
Afternoon, Ashraf. Before you close the show, quick one. What is your opinion? I think South Africa's problem is our tolerance to crime. We don't have a zero or close to zero tolerance to crime. In South Africa, a taxi driver can block the road, murder each other and murder occupants. What does the government do? It goes and negotiates with them and asks them for peace. You come from your country illegally, that's a crime in itself, but the South African government will negotiate with its citizens so that you get free medical health care and education for your children. South Africa.
Okay. Listen, I do think we are far too tolerant of crime. I mean, that's true. And, I think again on Kathy's show today, I think it was, we're talking about the taxi drivers and the culture where they can determine routes and they can actually tell another driver where to go and where not to enter. Like, who gave them that space? So it's that sort of culture that's crept into our society. It's completely normal. Lungi in Durban, hello. Lungi, you live, hello.
Hi, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. Go for it.
Yes, I just want to maybe stretch on the point that the previous gentleman was talking about Mike from Newlands.
Yeah.
And the one who got cut off.
Yeah.
I think I know what he wanted to talk about. About a month ago, Mike from Newlands made the exact same comment about going to Japan. I think that's the lie he wanted to emphasize. I remember it's about a month ago. I was driving through Omanzimtoti, and then he made the same. So I don't know if he maybe went to Japan again, or maybe he's got a problem with his memory. He made the exact same point about Elon Musk and going to Japan and why he's not.
People are making notes about Mike, and then you're making notes as well. But I'd hate to make this to show this the story of Mike. Maybe no, that would not be right. I think that would be selling the National Pulse audience short, seriously. And that would apply to any others who make extreme comments every single day and divert it into just whatever they want to say anyway. All right, Lungi, our time's up. Thanks for calling. Yeah, point made about I'd like to go to Japan. I really will. And I will not tell them that Elon Musk is not allowed here because he's white. That I will tell you now. I will not tell them that. Not at all. Right, that's the show. There were a few others I couldn't take all. I'm really sorry about that in terms of voice notes. But listen to the show, listen to all the shows in the evening, listen to the podcast that we've actually put out, and then share that with your friends as well. It'd be great if you do that. So can we connect again tomorrow? Mike, no, Mike. What will happen, it will certainly be the National Pulse, right? Here's, it's just gone 6 o'clock. Here's Greg.
Thank you again, Ashraf. You get home safely. In this news update, Free State residents up in arms over pit toilets and the SA Tourism Board is dissolved. Good evening to you. Residents of Tabanchu in the Free State have bemoaned the appalling state